got the energy. You are listening to Hope 103.1 FM Grenada.
Becoming one. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite a passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.
Blessings, guys. Good afternoon. Should I say good evening? Because it's after 6. All right. So welcome to another edition of Becoming One. We are the Sabazans, and we are so blessed and honored to be here this evening. I know it's just once a month that we get to see you to have this program, but it's such a privilege and honor, and we're happy to be back.
Amen.
We're excited. We're excited about today's program. But, you know, just before we go into today's program, we want to talk a little bit about
our last
program.
Our last program was...
Remember that epic, that wonderful topic that caught everybody?
Yeah. The perfect marriage.
That's right.
Yeah.
The perfect marriage. When people see that, it's like, okay, what are you trying to say?
Perfect marriage. The perfect marriage.
Yes.
For those of you joining us for the first time, if you missed the intro video, this program is really geared towards strengthening marriage. We really focus on kingdom marriage. So the things that we talk about is really, quote unquote, we try to keep it mainly in a biblical stance. So things that the world, kind of promote, we don't promote those things. We promote what God promotes. So keep that in the back of your head or in the front of your head if you must.
The front of your mind.
If you must, all right? Do take an opportunity to share our program in the meantime. Today we have a very, 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 very special guest with us in studio.
Yes.
So I know you guys will be, you're in for a treat. I can promise you that.
Oh, yes.
So, Lady Sabi, what do you remember from the last program?
Right. So we spoke about the perfect marriage. And in a sense, we concluded that none of us have a perfect marriage. There will always be issues. There would always be things popping up that, that challenges and things that we go through that may not be necessarily exposed to everybody, for everybody to see, they're going through something, or their marriage to the unknowing person. Some of us marriages look so perfect. All right. But in essence, what we discussed is that there are troubles that people go through, but the important thing in our marriage is to stay connected to the source and to ensure that, even through the difficulties that you go through, all right, that we can learn something from it, that there's a lesson to learn, that once you stay connected to Christ and you follow the word of God and you basically you listen to the leading and guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Even when you go off track.
Yes, you can get back on track.
Yes. And one of the things that I remember from this program, someone made that comment and they said they believe a content marriage. And if you remember that point.
Yes, I remember.
Marriage.
So we said we take out the word perfect and try to use another word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Content marriage.
Yes.
All right. So, guys, those of you who are on, I want to say good night to someone locked on from Trinidad and Tobago. Blessings to you.
Yes,
Markeisha,
they're on Facebook. Yes,
Kelly and everyone else tuned in at this time. I want to say blessed good evening to you and thank you for taking time to tune in to Becoming One. Yeah, Becoming One. So
interesting topic this evening, guys.
Another interesting thing about becoming one, even if you didn't become one as yet, you can get some good tips here.
Oh, yes.
So when you do decide
it's
to
for
become
singles
one,
too.
that's right. So don't think it's a marriage program. It is a marriage program, but even
it
if you're
helps
single
in getting ready.
and you're thinking about it,
it's for you. It's for you. It's for everybody. So share the live, as we said. You're listening on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever. Share it.
And we don't want you to be caught with your pants down, as the people will see. So, the Bible declares that people perish because of a
lack of knowledge.
So
we're sharing knowledge
that's
today.
That's right. And
sharing
it is
knowledge.
free.
Yes.
Free knowledge. Freely you receive, freely you give. So we don't want to go on too long, but we want to make sure we, get these things out there about the past program and what next. So, Lady Sabi, I know we have a special guest in the studio.
Yes, and just give us a minute. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, share the live, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, someone say, all right, wonderful. So keep it locked, I hope.
Becoming one. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite a passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.
Guys, and we're back and ready to introduce our guests for today. So, Mesha Veron Roxanne Paul, ni Lazare. Oh my gosh, I'm getting this wrong. Lazar. Mesha Veron Roxanne Paul, ni Lazar.
Right.
I don't want your husband to get vexed with me. Is the first
Paul Lazar. Get this right.
Mesha Veron Roxanne Paul ni Lazar.
That's right.
Is the first of three girls born to Vincent and Rosalind Lazar. She is born again. She's a born again believer in the Lord Jesus Christ and has been saved for just over 25 years. Her educational journey began at her aunt Anne-Marie's preschool at Paddock and continued at the South St. George Government School. After successfully completing the Common Entrance in May of 1997, she began her secondary school life at the St. Joseph's Convent, St. George, from Form 1 to 5th Form Commercial, where she pursued secretarial studies. After completing her secretarial course, she ventured into the world of work as an administrative assistant, a field in which she has worked for the last 18 years. In 2014, Mesha pursued an associate degree in social work for 3 years at the T.A. Marisho Community College, where she graduated with honors as the best graduating student in her field of study. Mesha has a passion for marriage and family life and would rather spend quality time with family than doing any other thing. She has been married to Larry Paul for the last 5 years, and together their experience and growth has enabled her to publish her first book on marriage, entitled Marriage. It is nothing like what you have been told. Although Mesha and Larry have a fairly young marriage, she has been blessed by God with the wisdom that spans way beyond her marital years. The words spoken in her book are testimony to this, as they have helped persons who have been married for way longer than her. In a recent conversation with one of her readers, this individual confessed to have learned some things from the book that this person was ignorant about, even though being married for triple times the number of years that Mesha has been married for. Mesha's love for people causes her to enjoy helping others, whether the need is a tangible one or just some much needed encouragement and advice. She desires to see people grow beyond their full potential and always capitalizes on every opportunity given to her to share her knowledge with others. Mesha believes in order to grow, one must know. Currently, she is pursuing a bachelor's degree in business administration at the Edinburgh Napier University. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone, help me welcome Mesha Paul Lazar. Oh gosh, I hope I get the surname correct this time. Good evening, Mesha.
You see, listen, please forgive my wife. She's Mesha Paul. Mesha Lazar
Lazar
Paul.
Okay.
Her maiden, that's it?
Yes, you're correct. You're correct.
Right, so please.
Mesha Lazar Paul.
But
Oh my gosh.
When you see me, I
Oh
just know
gosh,
that.
don't get vexed with me. Don't get vexed with me.
You know, and a quick one, we went to Margarita for a honeymoon, and while we were there, this gentleman couldn't pronounce Sabazans, so he just preferred Bishop. So I am my honeymoon, and I was like, Mr. Bishop, Mr. Bishop. My God. I just had to go with it because I said to myself,
Yes,
you know what, dude can't pronounce his name.
Yes.
So, but correction is good.
All right, Mrs. Paul. I'm
So,
sorry.
Mrs. Paul, how you feeling today? How you feeling? This is your first time on radio?
Not my first time,
Okay,
but
great,
it is my first time in a very long time.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
welcome to Hope FM. It is a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you here with us.
And it is also my pleasure to be here.
All right.
And I want to say good night to your listening audience
All right.
in Grenada and abroad.
All right.
I saw my friend Candice. She was just saying, she know where she met me. I remember, Candice. Blessings, and it's nice to have you with us today. All right.
All right. So guys, the topic for today, the hot topic for today, the topic is hardships in marriage. All right. It sounds like a harsh kind of topic, but we remember what this program is all about. It's all about helping marriages. It's all about bringing, persons who are married together and building that marriage. Some persons may be, at this time you might be experience a mountain experience, but there will be times where you experience that valley.
Yeah.
All right. So we want to cover all different types of topics. So today we're talking about hardships in marriage.
Yeah. Sometimes marriages do go through some difficult period.
Of course.
And we have to be real about that. And that's what I like about Mesha's book. She says, marriage. Actually, you know what? Marriage is nothing. It is nothing like
what you have been told.
Yeah.
And that's such a true statement.
Sometimes people see, nice art, but they don't know what goes on in the background. You know what I mean? So we're going to jump into it immediately because we have a lot to cover tonight. And guys, we also, just to give you a little heads up, we are giving away a book tonight. I don't want to say to people in Trinidad, but we'll be giving away a book tonight. If you're in Trinidad and you win the book, oh gosh, boy, I don't know.
It had to be somebody. No, it had to be somebody in Grenada because that collect the book.
Yeah, but I mean, I've seen people ship book from Trinidad to Grenada. So I don't know. Mesha will have to decide what she wants to do. Where that is concerned. You sticking to Grenada?
Let's see what happens.
All right.
Just put the mic a little closer to you for me, just so I could get you a little louder, or you come forward. Right, nice. I just want you to be a little closer to it so we could hear you a little clearly. All right. Good. All right. So, Lady Sabi, let's go.
Yes. So we're talking hardships. We want to start off this evening by, just going into it's a really, really broad topic, and there's so much that we can talk about, but we're going to try to talk as much as we can about all the various types. So we want to start off by talking about different types of hardships. All right. We want to start off by talking about. So let's talk about. All right. Marital adjustment and compatibility. That's one area. Let's talk about how this particular aspect can affect or where hardships will come into play here. Because the first thing I'm seeing here is when I think about marital adjustment and compatibility, I'm thinking about somebody who just got married, possibly. Newlyweds. All right. And they're trying to adjust. They don't know everything about me or you. We don't know everything about each other. And tell us, Mesha, what do you think about this?
Well, before I even proceed, I want to also say that some of what we're discussing tonight are not in the book per se, right? So you're getting somewhat of a bonus tonight, right? Because I actually prepared specially for this program.
All right.
All right. So marital adjustment. So as we said, persons who are just getting into marriage, it could be a very tough period. Some persons speak of having a rough first year, a rough first 3 years, a rough first 5 years.
Yes.
That period could be, it varies depending on the couple.
Right.
Right. It depends again on the maturity level of the couple. How long they take to settle down and so on. But that could be a tough time. It could present some hardship, and for those who may not have been expecting that type to be so rough, it could cause them to go in a frenzy. It's like, hey, why did I do this? What did I do wrong? Did I make
Why
the right
did I
decision?
get married?
Yeah. Did I choose the right spouse?
Yes.
Because even during that time, a lot of things show up, and we tend to believe that we are so right and our spouse is so wrong.
True.
So
True.
During that time, you were thinking, hey, nothing's wrong with me. Something is wrong with him
Yes,
or with
it's
her.
always the other person.
That's right.
Yes.
So during that time, it's really a time where persons find it to be very difficult in marriage.
Is there a word such as marriage shock? Because I think I want to coin a phrase, because sometimes you get married and there are certain things that you were never told or you didn't expect because you were not educated in certain areas. And I think I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing or maybe it's just a general thing, but you get married and I really wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting, that is what it's like, or this is what I was,
Yeah.
There are certain things that, you get married and it comes as a shock because you're being told all the niceties of everything that's beautiful about marriage, and people don't pause to tell you that there are also going to be difficulties, and these are some of the things that you may have to go through as a result.
I would like to add that, not shock really, but I believe preparation.
Unprepared.
Yeah, more like that's it. If you're not prepared,
Right.
and you don't have the adequate knowledge
Right.
that is necessary for the relationship you're getting into, then you could run into some hardship because, as I said, because of a lack of knowledge, people perish.
Yes.
So because you don't know, you come up with whatever you think is right, and it may be well wrong. So what are we saying here? It is important, right, that as you go into marriage, you find out as much as possible go into it well prepared. All right, well prepared. And if you don't know what to look for, Google premarital preparation. You understand? Google it, go on YouTube and see what it's like. Because Mesha, let me ask you the question. When you were getting married, you and your husband, or preparing for marriage, did you ever hear the term premarital preparation? Maybe you're married a little.
No, we just basically had counseling, and we would call that premarital counseling.
Yes.
But there's a lot more to it, and
it.
sometimes you don't have sufficient time to cover a lot in counseling. And mind you, what I realize is that when you actually get into marriage, this is when you really learn.
That's right.
So no matter what you've been
Practical.
told in counseling,
Yes.
you're actually on the job now. This is like on the job training.
Oh, yes.
So
Practical.
counseling is like school.
Yes.
And when you get into marriage, you're actually working. You're on the job.
Yes.
And so even as you mentioned that, there is something I often say. It is bad business to spend a fortune, let's say, on getting married, on your wedding, and not spend money, time, learning about how to keep this marriage going, because usually people spend so much on a wedding, but when you actually get there, it's like, how much do you know? What do you know about keeping this marriage together? So the investment is important.
Mesha, you're talking a book there, and let's as you're talking about the finances, let's get into the financial difficulties, because that is another area where people have hardships, and that is a very important point you made there, because I often say, right, if I knew what I know now, all right, back then, I would have spent a lot less. I mean, we didn't have to spend a lot on our wedding per se, right? But I would have spent more money on a lot of other things, all right, and spend less, you know, because it's afterwards. Oh gosh, you spent so much money on the venue, on the this, on the that, and afterwards you realize that was just one day.
Yeah.
The marriage is a lifetime. Why not, you know, invest on other things or spend money on other things that would, or save your money for other things like your home and other things that you would like to invest in that would make more sense in the long run.
Right, and this is something that we don't talk about even in premarital counseling and preparation, you know. And so even as we're on that, there's an aspect in the book that I did that speaks about preparing for your wedding.
Right.
You know, so it gives little tips based on my own experience and how important it is. You don't need to have a fortune to do this.
Right.
Yes.
Right. But as you rightly say, and leave that money for when you get married, because this is when you're really going to be needed.
That's right. That's right.
And not having could really break your marriage.
Imagine you spend thousands on your dress or thousands on some other thing, and then afterwards you realize, Lord, I don't have money for food. I don't have money to, you know, to pay my rent because I had to, you know, be paying back this loan that I took just for the wedding.
True.
You know, we have to think realistically.
It's often said there are three main areas, I would say. Well, three. There could be more, but there's these three main areas that can cause, you know, problem in marriage. Oftentimes, these three areas really do rock and beat up on marriages. You see, finance is one, for real. Sex is another one. You understand? Communication is another one. And you can go as far as respect, and that can still go back in how you communicate and so forth. But you see, these three areas, they are major. They hinge on a lot of different things. You understand? So people must, you know, be at least have a financial plan. And when I say that, not just how are we going to pay the bills, but more or less how are we going to manage the finances within the relationship. Is it going to be we talk about that in the past. Anybody talking about marriage must talk about that. Is it going to be my money or your money? Would it be our money? What's the mentality you're going into the marriage with? Some people go into the marriage with the wrong mentality regarding monies, and there you end up with so much issues and problems that sometimes you accept it for a while, but it's there brewing, because there's going to come a time when the money is going to say to you, you need to treat me. We need to treat me as one. Stop treating me separate. You understand? And you're gonna feel really foolish sometimes, you know. And some people still will hold to it, but you need to let go. As we say, if you're working for a lot of money, and you know your husband salary tall up and your own tall up, and all you have real in excess, that might not be a problem for you. But when you have a small salary and two of what you need to make ends meet, then I suggest to you that you put it together and manage it as one. You understand what I'm saying? Manage it as one. It's not the only way, but I think it's a good way to look at things, because you're going to have a more fruitful marriage as you make decisions together. If you can't work with your money together, but I know some people, they can't trust. If somebody can't trust you with their money and you're married to them,
something wrong. There's a deeper something there. Deeper issues right there.
You know?
Yes. So money. That is a lot of problems there. Yeah. We have to learn how to manage money. We have to learn to ask the Spirit of God to guide us and to lead us. And we need to, you know, as couples, it is important that we invest in ourselves.
Yeah.
All right. Invest in ourselves. If there are seminars going on regarding investments or how you can properly use your money, invest in yourself.
Yes.
Invest in your time. Use your time wisely.
Buy a book.
Buy a
together.
book on finances, on things that will help. Right. So that you know how to manage your money well, so that we would not, even if the difficult times come, because difficult times will come, as we said, we're talking hardships. Something might happen in terms of, you know, maybe your husband might, I don't know, somebody might lose a job, or something might happen that money becomes a problem. You get demoted, I don't know, for whatever reason. Then we learn to deal with it. We have to learn how to, these things come. So even if, you know, finances are not as they were before, something happens, then you learn how to sit, talk about it, and manage your money. All right, that's what I'm saying. It's not just about us discussing, but it's about investing.
Yeah.
Read books, read literature, find yourself in sessions and in places that talking about investment and how to manage money and all of that. You can have little and yet have a lot. You can have little and yet be able to manage the little that you have.
Wonderful. I like that.
All right.
I like that. I like that. Making a lot out of little.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people complain that it's not enough. But how can I make it? Contentment. Go ahead, Mesha.
No, it's you're right. Contentment, but you see, what is most important is that even though you have financial difficulties in your marriage, remember this is for the long haul.
Right.
So, and things happen throughout the course of our lives. But if you have financial difficulties, not the time to go your separate ways. And this is, I think, what we really need to zero in here.
Yes.
Is that is the time when you ought to support your partner even more.
That's right.
This is the time you have to strengthen yourself together, whatever resources you have, come up with a plan, think
That's
of
right.
something.
Become
Whether you have to do a
creative.
business.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is the time you have to come together, pull your resources together, your ideas together, and go through this. Because at the end of the day, you have to beat this thing by all
together.
means. Together.
I
That's what
always
it's all
say,
about.
you're a team. So it's not me against you. It's not, oh gosh, well, you could get fired. Oh, this could happen. Oh, that could
That's the
happen.
time
And
you
just
want encouragement.
Yes.
It's always us and not you or I. And you can think about like different situations. There are people who are self-employed. So being a self-employed husband or wife, or if you're based on how your finances might be set up, sometimes things were going well and you make certain decisions based on how things are going, and then something change. Something change. Your husband or your wife, probably you meet in an accident that you didn't plan for. Okay, so what's the plan? So if you're self-employed, you should have some other plan. You should have some insurance in place. These are the security measures that most people take for granted and say these are schemes that they don't want to get themselves involved in. But think about it. You don't have financial backing to back the risk that because your life in itself is at risk. If you understand what I'm saying, you're self-employed. Your wife is not self-employed, or your husband is self-employed, or whichever way you look at it, either party. And then you have a situation where one person must work, and they work by themselves. They're not depending on a boss to pay. If they're not there, they know somebody could still get money for another 6 months. The boss might see you because you're a good employee. You are your own boss, and something happened to you at that point in time, and you're unable to work now. First month it might be alright because you might have a little bit of money there. Second month it might start getting a little more tight, and the third, fourth, 6th month going down the problem now because the wife, the husband is unable to work. Somebody said this. So in my field, they say a disability is worse than death.
That's how some people think.
Disability is worse than death. So if you're totally disabled and you can't do anything, you're like a vegetable in the house. That person money cannot, you cannot take care of both your illness, which is a cost. You understand? Plus your daily living. You get it? That could be really rough. So planning is important, managing, but also planning. People say always put $1 away for the rainy day. Consider the ant. Yeah.
They store up. They store up.
All right, but you have to be thinking about those days. Debt could be another thing that can cause major issues with finances is concerned. But we don't want to go too deep in it because I know we don't want to rush the program too much too. So we want to take our time and make sure we get it as much as we can.
Oh yes.
All right. Let's say
as you spoke about the storing up for the ants. Right, it's saving is a very important thing. If we are wise, we would save. You may not be able to save $500 a month,
but you save what you can.
But as we say locally, one cocoa does fill basket. So if every month you say you're putting aside, whether it's $50, whether it's $40, $20, whatever it is, over time, that will make sense. And you have to be what I consider, you have to learn that this is being put aside for this purpose. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. You have to be disciplined. So you're having a special account for, the rainy day or this is my emergency account. You're not every little thing come wrong, but would that dress look good, boy? I feel I go bad. Let me just dip in. I will put it back. We never going back. All right. Yeah. So as individuals, in the marriage, we have to learn how to be disciplined. Yeah. You're saving from month to month and you're not touching it unless an emergency comes up, and that is the purpose for which it's there for. All right. So we're talking hardships, right? What about our irreconcilable differences? We have some. Let's talk about that, Mesha.
Lead on that one. Because you're married and you cannot reconcile the differences. I have my own thoughts on that one, but lead on that one, Mesha.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the truth is sometimes there are issues in which you perhaps would not agree on. Mm-hmm. And I think this is something we have to acknowledge. You see, I think one of the problems is when people believe that they're supposed to agree on everything. Right. And when we get to this point where there's something that we just not seeing eye to eye on, then we want to go our separate ways, I suppose.
But
right?
We're different people.
Exactly.
Two totally different people.
That's it. But one of the things I want to zero in here is that we have to understand that sometimes this is the reality. What do we do then? Right? I think I don't want to go too far because I think we have some little tips and so for you coming up later on how to deal with even that irreconcilable differences.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just to say that it is okay.
It is
it is okay.
Well, what's that saying that we say it's okay? Let us agree to disagree. So
right.
It's okay. I see it this way, you see it that way. It's okay. We think differently.
You just have to accept that this is how this person believes, this is their viewpoint on that, and you respect them.
That's right.
Accept it and move on. That shouldn't hinder your love. It shouldn't hamper your love.
Once it's not something fundamentally that is
like a core issue, values.
That's right.
And things like
something
that.
That's hinged on the word that you're doing, then that's fine. We have difference in opinions.
Let's just say, for example, you have political issues. There are households where one believes in the green, one believes in the yellow, one believes in the red, one believes, and
imagine you mash up over a political party. Is that making any sense?
Not at all. But mind you, there are some people who take this thing so seriously. They take it to heart, and it could cause issues in your home. It's the reality,
Yes, it's true.
So
Candice, I can say question. What if that issue affects the marriage? Candice, that is so real. If that issue in my book affecting your marriage, I think you should go get counseling.
Yeah. We need to rethink this.
Listen, counseling is when I think counseling is needed, even when you both are agreeing. Counseling is needed for strengthening the marriage, right? But so sometimes things are going well, but sometimes you just can't see where it's not going well. So when you get someone to look from outside, they may show you things that you can still adjust and make better. All right? So that's one. But when things are not going well too and you can't agree, that means you can't work together. So you need to find a way, and get counseling to help you. Yeah?
Don't come over if you're both Only giving us jokes here. But seriously, that is why I believe that marriage is for mature people. Marriage is for mature people, not little children. When I say little children, I'm thinking about your mentality, the way you think. Because petty thing we could make joke. We could say, make joke. I voted for green, you voted for don't
I
make
remember,
like a joke.
Well, let's say that. I remember a time that happened to us. Where I said, I don't want to vote for that particular people. And she's like, well, that's the color I have to vote for. And when I go inside there, you won't even know who I vote for.
Exactly.
But you make joke about those things.
Put you aside,
but no, we have differences. That's fine. We can have differences because we're two totally different persons. We come from two different backgrounds. We grew up differently. We have a different history. So we may see things differently. And that's okay. All right. But we can talk about it. And maybe, just maybe, one might see it the other way. and start having a different opinion. But that is no reason for us to have a big fight and mash up.
All right, let's take a question here, because this one seems to be kind of interesting, and I guess I'm the only man here, so I might have to answer that one. Candice, behave yourself, please. All right, so she says, recently I heard that men need space. Is this a thing? Is this healthy? As a man, I would say yes. Sometimes I need a little space. I like to go into my man zone. You understand? There are times when I need to go in a place where my wife is not allowed to come. That is very healthy. And when she infringe on that space, I feel like, oh.
Honestly, we're very quiet. I'm waiting for him to finish talk for me
So
to see what I have to say.
I may go inside my little room there, and I want to go and write a song. You understand? And then I want things to flow away. So I may say, babes, I really need at least 2 hours. Or last night, for example, she said, don't come to bed 12 o'clock. You're up writing this song, don't come to bed 12 o'clock. And mind you, by 12 o'clock, I was just walking into the bed. I said, no. But, so that's my space. I don't know if there's another space, you understand?
But we have to be, yes.
Some space that some men go in and there's a time when the wife's supposed to have and you're supposed to be together.
So that's different altogether.
Right?
Your space is a good space. That I don't mind that. Yeah. All right, and as wives, we need to be realistic, and we need really a quiet time. We can't be. Yes, we are one, but we can't be every time, every minute, every second in each other's presence. We need a little time.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, man.
Yeah.
Was space for 7 days? I was talking about 3 hours.
No.
3 hours?
No, that ain't singing right.
3 hours. I was talking about a little 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours is all right, but a day is too much. Half a day is too much,
No, that's been ridiculous.
What they need that amount of space for?
That ain't singing right.
Good question.
Men, even women, we need our space as well, but 7 days.
No. And that reminds me of a scripture somewhere in the Bible. I can't remember exactly, but he talked about that, He said, if you must go outside, if you must go apart, let be for fasting, for prayer. But however, come back together quick, lest
the enemy
tempt you.
Yes.
You understand? So if you go outside for 7 days, there's something wrong with you.
What are you going to do, fast?
Something wrong with you.
And if there's fasting, there must be agreement first.
You understand?
Right?
So you see, this thing cause problem because it may be justifiable to a man that he may think whatever reason he has in his mind, it is right, but just imagine, for example, and I was telling my wife that last night, you in a relationship, your husband booked a ticket to go to visit his auntie in America, but you didn't know, and it wasn't until the day that he's leaving in the morning, you see, pack up his suitcase and say to you, I'm leaving for America.
That craziness,
right?
That madness.
And then to him, it's like nothing wrong with that. Auntie, me and auntie real good, but then you looking at him like, what? And then he's like, what are you upset about? Like, I just gonna visit. Yeah, I just gonna visit auntie.
That ain't something right. There must be agreement, and we have to plan.
Wow, nonsense.
So, somebody's qualifying the 7 days. They're saying not marriage, but courtship.
Oh, during
courtship. That is different.
Yeah, it's different.
Courtship is
you're
different.
not married.
Yeah, you're not married.
That is different.
And I actually will.
However, still I would say whatever that 7 days separation for, it must be justified, because remember, you're in courtship, you're preparing for marriage.
Yeah.
So whatever you see in courtip, this is what likely to happen in the marriage.
Yes.
And
that's that might just be a little light bulb there.
We still have to be mindful as to what this 7 days is all about. And of course, there must be agreement. I think once you have discussion, reasoning should come into play. And
I see. Is when you disagree, you end up having hardship, because you can't see eye to eye, you can't walk together, you can't, it's like you're not there, you're not in the same mind, you're not in one mind, but yet still you're together.
No, let's move on a little bit. I want to talk about the in-laws. how the in-laws can cause little hardships or big hardships. Let me not say little. Can cause big hardships and little ones too in a marriage setting. The in-laws, the outlaws, in-laws and outlaws. All right.
Candice, I feel like I'm gonna make you a guest story. I have your number, and I know you have a lot to say. So we will organize. Don't worry. There's room for you.
No. The Word of God says when we get married, the man should leave his father and mother and cleave to his own wife.
But you see, the problem is some people in the family may say, he didn't say cousin and uncle and so forth, he say mother and father. So they will say, no, I didn't see mother and father there. So they will feel they could, intrude as they please because they didn't see cousin and niece and all of that in the Bible.
Tell us, Mesha.
Tell us about how do the in-laws cause the hardships?
Well, I would say this. In-laws can only cause hardship if the couple allow them.
That's right.
Right? Because, you see, in-laws, where in-laws are concerned, there must be boundaries. Right? Unless you set boundaries, unless as a man you let your mother and your sister and your every other lady friend in your life know that, hey, this is my wife and this is my priority, they will be able to walk all over and do what as they please. Right? So anytime you see you have these issues, there are some households who never have a problem with in-laws.
True.
But anytime you see you have these issues, it is because boundaries are not set.
That's right.
Persons are just doing as they please. And the person who has the ability to control that fails to do so.
True.
Yeah, so I don't think there's anything much more I could say about this.
I have a little scenario that just popped in my mind.
Okay.
Now, let's think about it this way. You're a husband, right? And you have to go somewhere, pick up your mother and your wife. And your mother proceeds to go into the front of the car. Yes, and she goes and she sits down, but your wife is accustomed to sitting at the front.
Right.
How do you deal with a situation like that? And in addition to that, well, something else that came to my mind, but let's talk about that one first of all. You are picking up both your wife and your mother, and your wife is accustomed to sitting at the front. But your mother is there, and your mother proceeds, and she goes in and she sits at the front and motions to your wife. Or at least, okay, maybe she motioned to her, but obviously she can't sit in the front together with her, so she had to sit in the back. How do you deal with something like that? How do you? Okay, anybody answer, because my husband looked like if. Okay, how do I deal with it? How do you deal with a situation? How do you deal with a situation like this? Because some it could be a genuine, like, okay, I'm mommy, I just, she didn't really thinking, and she just,
I think sometimes it could be misunderstood, as well as there are times you should be able to read through behaviors, right? So maybe it might happen the first time as the wife, you may just let it slide. All depends on how this thing is done. I mean, if there's no ill feeling or ill will, definitely deep down your mother-in-law, y'all have a good thing, there's no issue. Then you may think, but then again, as the husband, it is your duty to perhaps maybe speak to your mom. It could be after the fact, after it happened. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to create a scene there and then.
Right.
Then maybe you might look at it. If you want to monitor it for a period of time, you say, well, okay, we do it the first time, let me see what happened the second time. But if you realize there's a pattern, then it's something you would want to address. Right? So I think there are ways that you could deal with these things. And then again, as a mother, you're supposed to know your place. I don't even think we should get to the point where you have to put your son in that uncomfortable position where he has to come and say, hey, mom, so. I think persons must just know their place. Because think of it, okay, maybe as a mother, this mother might have been married to how would you have been treated as a wife? Or even if you have not been, how would you like to be treated as a wife in relation to your mother-in-law? You understand? So these are things I think persons just need to be mindful of, put themselves in other person's position, in other person's shoes, and decide on the best way out.
All right.
Well said. Well
You have something to add to that?
I'm not saying.
Okay, well, you go take this scenario. So this one is kind of similar.
Our Facebook users are doing very well here.
All right,
they're saying quite a bit here. I stand on this one. Wifey comes first. All right. Once I leave mommy's nest, I firmly believe that wifey is my priority as a husband. You understand? I have already set up my standards, and the way I see it is God, wife, children, and then anything else. You understand? So you have to know your priorities as a man, as a married man. You have to know your priorities. So some men have it twisted. That's why you have this type of issues happening. You understand? It's like some people say, if your mother and your wife is on a boat and you have to throw it one to survive, who will you throw out?
That's a hard, but
who will you throw out?
You're supposed to leave and cleave.
Yeah,
But that's a hard. That's a difficult.
Who will you throw out? You understand? And you know what I mean? So, I'll laugh because
let's go to the next scenario. I don't want to only answer that question. So I'm thinking about, let's suppose Mother's Day comes along, right? And mommy says, listen, I want to only come across, everybody come across by me for Mother's Day. That is what we're doing for Mother's Day. But your wife decide, listen, I find every Mother's Day we always going across, but let's do something different this year. Now let's go out some way and let's do a little something else, as a family or something. How do you deal with a situation like that? Well, mommy listen, I want all my children in one place, everybody come, but you decide, okay, well, how do you decide as a man? And I'm putting you on the spot, Mr. Savvy. How do you decide as a man?
I just said it.
Mommy has more than one. It's not just you, but she want all she children in one place. It's Mother's Day. She cook. She decides she want to cook, and she want all she children by her. But your wife say, listen, I find this Mother's Day I want a little quiet time, just me, you, and them children.
Mommy along with the siblings might brand me as a rebel. But at the end of the day, I know God didn't brand me as no rebel. So if I can't convince my wife to go, then I have to look out for wifey first. That's my priority.
Or maybe just have a little chat with her. Maybe she might change her mind.
That's why I said if I can't convince her to go, right? But guess this, right? We sounding as it is just simple.
Ain't simple at all.
But let me tell you, the reality is these things that create hardship in marriage. Because you have now this man saying, "Where's my mother? If it wasn't for her, I would not be here. So why you don't want us to go by her? What if two of them mother saying, come now?
What are we going by?
What are we going by? So he'll live to please mother?
Oh yeah.
You can't live to please mother. And you have to understand it's precedence. So when mommy realized she could get her way with one little thing. You're talking about the car seat. That's one little thing. All they realize one little thing, then two little things, then three little things. Later on the wife started talking, what she talking about? And you make her sit down in front of the car seat. And mother's
everything coming back up.
Problem.
You understand? And sometimes she said it nice too, that smile on her face, intending for you to feel guilty. And again, how you communicate the thing. Because sometimes some people, they're not saying because it doesn't look like a problem really, but they actually storing it up in their heart. And later on, when they decide to just release everything, it's like, I didn't know you was feeling that way all the time. You understand? So guys, remember, when you're in a marriage, you and wifey first. And as a man, you must understand your authority. You have to know the authority that you have in the relationship, how God set it up. You understand? I know some women are very strong. They're very, very strong that they could convince some men. But, that's another conversation for another day. But ladies, please do respect your husband. All right?
I see a spicy question there before we move on. Okay. I see a spicy question there. What about newlyweds moving in with the in-laws?
I don't like that thing at all,
People have different opinions on that, but I would
I don't like that thing at all.
What you find, Mesha? How would you?
Again,
Personally speaking.
it comes down to the couple.
And the situation.
That, in fact, I dealt with that issue in the book.
Okay.
No.
Yes,
Okay.
I did. Because I have known situations where it worked, and I know situations where it did not work.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it comes down to the couple.
Right.
Right? But I would say, in my own opinion, I prefer not have to move in
Yeah,
with
no,
them.
but, yeah.
And in some instances, you're talking about living in the same space, sharing the same kitchen, sharing the same bathroom.
Oh my.
I mean, if the house is really
And especially
big,
as a newlywed,
Yes.
it could be very tough because you see, remember, as a newlywed, you're just coming to learn to adjust to each other.
Right.
You may have a lot of issues, arguments in the early stages of your marriage.
Right.
And sometimes emotions run high. Mommy in the next room, she hearing that, right? And
Just on. Why are you laughing at?
no, I imagine you actually in an intense, argument, and you have to keep your voice low. Yeah, stay in this room now. It's
so you need your space. You would need your space. And then too, another thing is that even as a woman, right? You know how women are with their kitchen.
Yes.
Right? And even their own living room space.
Yeah,
you want to be able to put your little place
Yes,
together.
be creative and do what
Right.
you want.
And then, sometimes even as a newlywed, again, living with your in-laws, mother-in-laws, the case may be, they may do things differently
True.
from how you would do it.
Right.
And you just want to be able to do what you have to do
Yes,
for your
be
husband.
free, yes.
Without anybody telling you that's
not the way to do
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, so
Every
it could
time you
create
have to,
a lot of problems.
put on long pants.
So,
walk in the pant in the house. Yeah,
and then the minute time they suspect you have a little issue, that is a problem
Yes.
too.
Oh, they come like
Yeah.
children. Come, let me talk to all you.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
like
then
have
they're
the
holding
solution
grudges.
and that kind of thing.
They're holding grudges for your
yeah,
spouse.
for your spouse,
Yeah,
whichever
and
way.
taking sides, and so
That's
it's
dangerous.
not a healthy environment
See?
for any newlywed.
That's dangerous.
So you see why the Bible says you should
Leave
live and
and
cleave.
cleave.
But again, that's why preparation is important. You should know, young man, where you put in the people's child or the people's child to live. Or you should have some plan. Even if you say, okay, we're gonna we compromise a little bit. We don't really want that, but here's what we're not staying
But
here.
for a short time.
Yeah, we're going. This is what's available,
Yeah.
but be it known, this is not our final destination. You have to do everything in your power
Yeah.
as a man to ensure. And it takes me back to when I got married to my wife, right? When I got married, the first thing we did was we had a plan, and I had this plan in my office for a house. Every day I go to work, and I put a picture of me and her on the plan, right? And every day the plan was approved already. And every day I go to work, I see this, and I know here what I'm trying to get this house so this woman and I could stay in it. This is me now visualizing my goal. You understand? Seeing it, believing it, and acting on it. So every time I start slipping a little bit on work, I realize, hey, that ain't gonna get me the house that I want. If she didn't see it, I had to see it. As a man, you need to learn to see beyond. You understand? But it's good to have wife by your side because you get support, you have help. See? So that's how God set up the thing. Yeah? Let's go.
Yes, so we're moving on. I want us to jump into health issues, and I think we can talk about drugs and so underneath health as well.
Okay.
All right, so let's start off by talking about some of these health issues, but let's first talk about things like drug abuse and other forms of abuse. All right, before we go on to the health, because there are some husbands and wives who experience a spouse using drugs, or some kind of abuse, whether it be physical, whether it be emotional abuse, verbal abuse, whatever kind of abuse. There are some marriages that experience this kind of hardship. How do we...
But we want to talk about what they are before we talk about how do we recommend people deal with them. All right? And guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about hardships in marriage, right? That's what we're talking
Even
about.
alcohol,
So
all of that.
let's talk about that,
Drug
because
abuse.
when we were preparing, I said to my wife, we can't presume and act as if everybody who get married are good Christian people living and, say what the Bible says, just a little bit, just not too much, just take a little bit, don't get drunk and thing. There are husbands who somehow maybe they did it well in the beginning, but something happened and then they end up in the bar. Maybe they take one shot, they take two and then three, and after a while they keep coming home, they are abusing the alcohol, and then you have a problem. Boy, you see, people even understand. You may say, one man might say, today I'm this person and that thing will never gonna happen to me until it happens. And then you don't know what to do. Because sometimes, boy, betrayal can cause some kind of pain that people would turn out doing and becoming someone that they never imagined
that they would ever become.
You understand? So the alcohol is a serious thing. You might say, yes, I'm a Christian, I don't drink alcohol. No.
Maybe you lost a job and you don't know how to deal with it.
About that.
Yeah.
Depression. Any others in your mind, Mesha? Men that smoking, or somebody may even go to start taking drugs. You understand? The devil is real, and understand that. So when we talk now, we're not just seeing it as it's impossible. Let's remember there's a real devil out there that will suggest things to people to make them feel that is where they can find a solution.
That's how they can feel better.
Suicide. People can go down into some kind of, some dry places. And I see places, not just a dry place, but dry places. They can go in these places and it can really mess them up if they don't get the right help. Go ahead, Mesha.
And this is one of the reasons why marriage must not be done without having God in the center.
Oh, Lord.
Definitely, he's a glue.
Because there are challenges that will confront us from time to time, and we would need Christ. Minus a relationship with Christ, we could go anyway. Anything could happen.
Anything.
And so I think that is fundamental, that we understand the importance of inviting Christ and ensuring that he's the glue that's going to keep this marriage together. He's going to guide our decisions, as individuals as well as a couple.
Come what may, because some people, they are not prepared for some hardships, in that light. Things that can happen that can really, just play with your mind, playing out, because that's where the battle happens, in the mind.
And sometimes we kind of go astray as Christians. We can, certain things happen. Let's suppose maybe you have this really good job and you're getting promotion after promotion, and something happened and that company shut down. You lose that job.
See that?
It's like you're far away from God, and because this job had become like that's your source. That is your everything. That is what giving you your money, your car, everything that you want. And God just allowed things to happen and that job is taken away from you. That can cause people to
the balance in terms of being not just compatible, but being equally yoked where faith is concerned. Because that is the next part. We say God is a glue, but also faith in God as a couple is very important. And being able to see, if it was someone you can't see, but if you would listen to your significant other, you don't have faith now, but that person have faith for both of you guys. You know what I mean? And you can really say, okay, well, I really can't see it, but I trust you enough to believe that it will happen. You understand? Because you have the faith in God that He's going to make something happen for us. And if a husband and wife become hopeless and they have no faith,
that's bad.
All you know how dangerous that is.
Oh yeah.
Because now they do anything the devil suggests. Yeah. If we know two about going to jail together.
Some years ago I read a situation of a husband that actually, I don't know what difficulty he encountered, and mind you, he was in church, not in Grenada, but this situation where he killed himself, his wife, and his children. So something must have went wrong, and that faith wasn't strong enough, and that was it. He decided, I ain't living, nobody living, and that was the end of his family. So,
and when we've gotten to that point, we know we really have gone far away from God. And that's why it's important, as Mesha said, relationship with God is essential, and not just essential to have a relationship, but to maintain a close intimate relationship. Because sometimes you could have a relationship, but God is like,
we all have a relationship with
God
God,
over
don't
there, and
we?
I know so. It has to be intimate. We have to hear from God. It's like God and you best friends, man. You had to know, exactly what God wanted to do. You had to be, close to Him.
We need God every step of the way in our daily lives, in our marriage,
Oh, yes.
I mean, I see it all the time. Just, was it this morning? Between yesterday and this morning. Oh, yesterday, right. So my husband decided he wanted to do something, and I was trying to convince him not to do it. So I was saying to him, I say, no, you shouldn't do this. No, don't do this. And in his mind, he's like, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. So, okay. This morning we were speaking, and he told me that the Lord reminded him of something. And due to that, he decided not to do it. So I said, you see, I was trying to tell you yesterday, don't do it. And then, so I said, what if the Lord didn't remind you of that? So it's just to say how we need God even in our decision making, in our marriage, daily in our lives.
Oh yes, yes, very important.
Thank you, Candice. Candice says, Lady Sabi, you have a radio ready voice, and she like it.
Well, thank you, Candice.
All right, so I can think about this though. I was reading this excerpt from a book. I was reading, not Mesha book, another book, and I just took this here because I thought it was very important.
Right.
And it says, praying with your spouse is perhaps the most intimate thing you can do together. Think of what happens when you pray. There you are, right at the front of God, all right, and He can see you, He can see through you, and there, by your side, your partner. So you both are literally unveiled before God. You understand? He says here, you may have already said, I trust you, to your spouse, but this mutual prayer is where the real risk comes into play, right? The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Now, you may wonder what risk you're talking about when you and your husband or your wife decide to pray together. This is so interesting because when you go to God, if you're being truthful with God, you will start telling Him everything that is on your heart. And now, you're dealing with certain things and you're being truthful, and you're praying about it with your husband, they're listening, or your wife, they're listening. So you see, when they say the true risk comes in, because now you're actually going to be open and clear with God. God, I'm dealing with this. But mind you, she's right there too, or he's right there too. So many people, because of that, they tend to want to pray apart, going to God by themselves.
And nothing wrong with
that, but you need to have time together where you pray together. You understand? And if you can't pray together about the thing, talk about the thing first. So when you go to God now, all they can agree, there's an issue we need God to fix for us, and it will make a difference. But when you have that kind of secrecy in the marriage, it becomes hard, because when you're praying before God, if you're real with yourself, part of your mouth don't want to open to deal with the issue. You start beating around the bush, and God is like, come and just tell me the real thing. Now, what are you really? Just say what it is you want to say. You understand? So I won't read the rest, but just as a part, and that in itself will help you in terms of your intimacy, right? Yeah, my wife.
So let's talk about health. Let's talk about health. It's amazing how time does just. Let's talk about health issues. That's okay. We could, if Mesha allows us, we could go a little bit.
No problem by me.
So we have health issues. That is another big area under which we have hardships. All right. Here is one that.
Rock the boat.
All of them rocking the boat, but some persons will experience infertility. That is a health issue. You might have a wife or a husband, all right, that's, as we say in local terms, they can't have children. They can't make children. All right, how do we deal with something like this? And again, going back to what we spoke about earlier, it is important. You see, premarital preparation. You're preparing for marriage. You need to do a couple tests. Go and find out about the little things. Do a little check-up. Make sure everything is in place. All right? If you should find out, when I say everything in place.
But you know, people, the point is, people, most times when in counseling, if they recommend that you do that, sometimes it's the time when you already made your mind up, I'm going to get married, and it's like, okay, do this 2 weeks before, make sure that is in place, make sure the man don't have no AIDS, you have no STDs, go and do this blood test and so forth. But I say, this is, before you start quoting, you should walk into the relationship with these things.
Yes.
And be honest and say, you know, if you know you're a little rebellious in such a way to do certain things, you clear your path. You know, I could give all of this one. Before I got married, I wasn't that nice fella you seen here. I was a little bit promiscuous. So there's this time when I met my wife and I was thinking, hey, I want to get married and so forth. And, you know, I thought something was wrong with me. You understand? I thought, and this thing plagued my mind. And, you know, I had to go and do a test. And in my mind, I was like, Jesus, I plan to get married. Well, I didn't plan it. I probably was engaged. So we was engaged. But in my mind, I know, but my lifestyle prior to me giving my life to Jesus, it wasn't the best of lifestyle. So I have to, like, know, make sure that I'm clean. And that in itself could be nerve-wracking for some people. You know, if you know the extent I go to make sure. I mean, I was fearful at the same time. I just being real. So some people avoid it, but it's the same thing turned out to be a problem later. You understand?
That's right.
So all I saying is that not 1 month before, but long before. You understand? If you know, let's be real, not everybody born in church and grew up like in a nice Christian home like my wife did. I didn't come from that kind of background, you know. I was the fella to be in the party and out there as a young man in my teens. By 20s, my 20 or the 20, I was already serious. By 19, 20, I gave my life to my heart to the Lord, and I wanted to be a better individual, which I still thought I was a little late, but you can't blame me. So the point I'm making is, at that time, if you know you want to get serious, even before you meet somebody, make sure you sleep clean before you go and look for people with children.
That's right.
That's all I'm saying.
That's
and
right.
young ladies, same thing. It goes for young ladies too.
Oh, yes.
You know? Yeah.
You want to make sure that you do things
Yeah,
right.
test your blood,
you don't want
do
to get
everything.
you don't want to get into a marriage and then your husband or your wife just finding out that your family have,
or the family, you're right.
you know, some kind of kidney disease or something,
some
that
disease,
let the person be privy to that information.
Even
let them
knowing
decide
the blood,
that I can deal with this.
The blood type.
Yeah.
Sometimes the blood type is the same, and then it's problems. So, you know, it's just important. I know, guys, we go lay down a lot tonight. I don't know. We should have to come back some of that time. We didn't reach halfway yet.
But we should be privy to this information. Your wife or your husband, you shouldn't be married and then they find out, look, you have this blood disease or this rare sickness, or you have cancer. So this thing is not, it's not right. It's not right.
And, you know, that's one side to it too, but then, you know, even while we're married, things happen, right?
That's right.
So this is why we ought to, that preparation goes both ways. It goes in terms of you preparing yourself, like you all mentioned, but it also goes with preparing yourself mentally, making your mind up, hey, we just said for better
or for worse,
in sickness
and in health. Yes.
For richer, for poorer, financial, you know, we spoke about those things, you know, but we have to reach the point, because in the reality is, while we have a lot of these things due to technology now, think about our parents back then. What did they know?
Boy.
And some of these marriages lasted.
That's right.
Grandparents and who and who. It lasted. Why?
Commitment.
Because there were principles. And these principles go through the ages.
That's right.
You know, it doesn't change. So
Once
if
you
we
apply
can,
it, you
if
can
we
get the-
apply it, it doesn't matter come what may.
Yeah.
That's
It's a
right.
hardship in the marriage.
That's right.
But what do we do when we get to this point? You know?
Again, questions. Don't worry, by the end of the evening, we answering everything.
All of them.
So it's important to find out about yourself, to, you know, you need your, as individuals, you should, as much as possible, you can have your yearly checkups. If you know you need to check your eyes every 2 years, whatever it is, you need to do ladies need to do their pap smear, how many years, and so you need to ensure that your health is in order. Take care of yourself. All right? But infertility, going back to the infertility issue, this should not be something that, even if it may not have been something that you found out before you got married, and now you get into a marriage and you discover, listen, my husband cannot have children, my wife cannot have children. That should not be a reason for you to say, well, listen, I want children and I'm walking out, or I'm going and find somebody who could make children for me.
Yeah, I remember doing a program on the radio with Minister Cassandra Risto, and her guest from Tobago, she said she couldn't have any children, and she had adopted children, and she had adopted child, and it was just like her child. And like, that was an amazing story, because the mother of the child and the adopted mother, they were good friends, and the mother just allowed her to parent her child. You understand? And it's just awesome. So there are options. You need to explore what they are and see how you can, find another way. Because the reality is, God make everybody different, and not everybody has to have a child. So don't feel like if you didn't have a child. As one popular songster says, not having a child doesn't make you less than a woman, and a man need to understand that too. I've heard persons say, me and my husband, we plan to get married, and one person told me that before. We got married, and I told him I don't want no child. Not that she's infertile, but she said, I don't want to have no children. I don't want a child. I don't want no children.
Together.
However, the husband agreed, and then later on, there was mind change. No, she's sticking to what we agreed on prior to getting married, and now you're married, husband is saying, I feel I want that child,
And that's okay. You can discuss it. You can talk about it. But it can become a hardship again.
What is a hardship?
Because if one person, because one person sticking to the fact that, listen, we had decided no children. Why are you telling me no? I'm not prepared. I don't want no children.
So you see, he had to accept what he agreed to.
That might be so, and this again presents an irreconcilable difference. If it's not reconciled, unless they come to that agreement, there we have it. Perfect example.
So again, that's a hardship, but what do you do in a situation like that? Always remember, us, not I.
That's right. Us. You're thinking us.
Not I.
Marriage is not a selfish thing.
Sometimes the same child you want is the same child that take away your wife's life.
It's true.
And you don't know
It's
that.
true.
You don't know if it's going to happen, if it's not going to happen. So, you know what? Don't worry why you don't know and go kill you. Right?
Yeah, so what about you touched on this area on the disabilities. That's another area that can pose a problem. Now, people can get married already. Somebody may have a disability before you get married. But what about when accidents happen? Somebody loses a limb. Somebody becomes, blind. Something happens. No longer able to function the way they functioned, before. Or maybe then that's just the way they function because you knew them to have that disability. But I think the problem also comes when you were not prepared. And it just happened. Accidents happen. How do we deal?
I love when Aubrey comments, right? Aubrey says this, and this is a testimony. He said, at this moment, my wife is very sick. To me, this is an opportunity for me to be the best husband I could have ever be.
All right.
So,
thumbs up to Aubrey.
Aubrey is about 70 years old. So
wonderful.
And in fact, you see, so we talk about disability throughout life, but then remember, we're growing old together.
That's right.
At some point in time,
somebody
these issues will...
Yes.
And we don't know who
what. Let me then Chelsea go.
Somebody might be. One might have sight, the other one one might not be able to see, one might not be able to hear. So you have to find a way to.
One have to hear for one.
You know, when you come down to these things, I always say, like I mentioned before, put yourself in the other person's shoes.
Right.
What about love? Do I really love this person? Right. What if it was me?
Yes.
Would I want to be cared for the way I'm caring for my spouse? spouse.
Right.
You know, so these are real life issues, but we ought to sometimes put ourselves in the position and think how we would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I think it should help us in terms of how we would treat our spouse.
Put things into perspective. And that what we said a while ago is so important, because now that you're young and everything might be all right, the reality is you're growing old together. And there comes a time when things just not going to be the same way. Your husband might start walking with a limp, maybe for all, based on the line of job he has been involved in. Or, you know, your wife probably sits down in front of his computer all the time. Or eyes, she can't see well anymore. Maybe she end up with cataract, God forbid. A lot of things can happen when you're going down in age. And that's where marriage becomes... You see, you have different stages in marriage, you know. Or we should do a program on that. You know, the honeymoon stage. The coach. Honeymoon. Then you had this time where, you know, in insurance, we normally say we have a lifeline. So we call it, there's a lifeline. So the lifeline is your learning period. So that's when you're from since you're born. You can learn from since you're born to where you go into your earning. You never stop learning, but there's a time when you, based on what you're learning on, and then you're going to your yearning age. So you should prepare for these 3 stages, and generally they could be between 1 to 25 there, boop, and then 25 to about 60. Well, right now we're about to bring up the NIS thing, so you go to 65, 70. You have all this time to build wealth, which you would need when you reach that age when you're no longer able to earn. So again, you have to plan, because you could become disabled later by maybe life. Things just happen. God forbid someone get a stroke based on how you've been eating. Maybe somebody end up with cancer. Maybe something that is going to suck your money from your pocket. And if you don't have it, then it becomes even more harder.
Right.
You understand? And again, I said it earlier on, disability could be really worse than death, because it puts a strain on the person. Because they have to take care of you plus themselves and everything else that both of you were taking care of. So you see how hard it can be. And some people may say, well, no one could really plan for that. But at the end of the day, you need to better you have a plan. What my old boss used to say, he's dead, God rest his soul, he used to say, God bless his soul, he said, no plan is still a plan. So you see, even when you think you don't have a plan,
you have a plan.
You still have a plan, because your plan is not a plan. You have no plan to do nothing, and what will happen when you plan to do nothing? You have no sense of direction, because now the thing happened and it's like, ow, I didn't think about that.
Wow.
You know,
So even you're speaking about the whole disability issue and I could see things like depression come into play, because now I was able to work all my life, and especially I'm focused kind of narrowing in on the men, because you know the men and the being able to provide kind of thing, and now you can't walk or you can't see and you cannot provide for your wife, you can't provide for your children. You know, people can become depressed for a lot of different reasons. Even in you know, there's this thing that some women experience after having a child. You have depression. It's something that we have to learn to deal with, and a lot of people don't know these things exist. So sometimes you're excited to have this child and this child born, and then your wife becomes somebody else that you don't understand, and you don't know how to deal with it, and you figure that something, you know, something is wrong with her. She's experiencing depression. But we have to learn how to.
And you know, depression is something that could affect the person who really going through the depression and the person who is caring for that person.
That's
so you
true.
see, it could just pass on, and it could affect the marriage, the household in such a negative way. You know, so it's important that even during these times that persons get added support.
Oh yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I see that's what it is. People don't realize how important information is. When you don't have information to make the right decisions, you're left up to do whatever you think is right. And that is when you end up having so much problem. Your life becomes so much more fruitful when you know. And when you know the right thing.
Yes.
Not just knowing it, because if you don't know the right thing and you're just doing what you think is right, again, you're still making a fool of yourself, or you might just learn. But that's learning the hard way. So at the end of the day, it's always good to ask somebody a question. You know, Mesha, I'm going through this thing, I don't understand it. How do you recommend I deal with it? You understand? And there's nothing new under the sun. So anything
Somebody has
that
been
you
through.
are going through
Yeah.
right now in your marriage, somebody done passed that road already.
Somebody has been through that.
And somebody made it through
Yes.
because they did the right thing, and
Yes.
somebody didn't make it through because they did the wrong thing.
Yes.
So what would you do then? Who would you listen to? Yeah. Before you choose who you listen to, you have to know. Look at the fruit. See if the person life is where you want your life to be before you take counsel from them, because you take the wrong counsel.
Problem is the ship.
Yeah.
Sink the ship.
Sink the ship.
You know, as we talking along the lines of depression, you know, I just wanted to touch briefly on these other issues here because they are also connected to depression, you know, loss and grief.
Yeah, boy.
You know, you may have in a marriage, you know, depression can come on because of the loss of, let's say you lost a child, you had a miscarriage, or maybe you lost a mother or father, or, you know, it doesn't have to be a miscarriage, but you lost a member of your
close to you,
family,
somebody close to
you know,
you, yeah.
a parent, a sibling, a loved one,
Yeah.
you know, even as we were talking about the loss of the job and the opportunities. And so depression can come on for a lot of different reasons. And some people, you know, as a spouse, you don't know how to deal with your significant other, your spouse, as a result of, you know, they lost a father. Your father was so dear to you. You lost a child, and you don't understand, well, why my husband can't get over this thing? Why is it a year gone already? Why he can't get over this? Or, you know, she oh gosh, well, we could have another child. You lose a child, you had a miscarriage. But these things go so deep. Depression is real. Depression is real. We don't just discard this thing and take it like, you know, well.
I think some people, because they never experience depression, they would never understand what depression really is. And if you ever been depressed in your life, where to me the way I could explain it is like a load on you, your emotion, your everything is just not right in your head. It's just like you're being weighed down by sometimes by just this one thought, just one thought. And again, I always remember there's an evil devil out there that's going to amplify it, and these like voices speaking in your head, and then it's like you're in this place where the only thing you feel is right for you is for you to die, you know, and maybe that will give you peace, but really and truly it doesn't give peace.
That's a life, you know? From hell.
So Mesha, share your part.
Well, I mean, as we're talking about depression, one of the things is that, you know, in the process of a person being depressed, if they have a spouse, right, that is could manage their emotions, it would help. Because sometimes you find that my depression weighs my husband down or my wife. You know, it's like it's transferred, or it's like a spirit. And
right.
I mean, we don't want to get into that, but you know, sometimes these things happen.
Yes, it's
where
true.
The person is depressed and the other person is depressed as well. But if you have a spouse that perhaps know how to, you know, bring a little life and spice the thing up and pull you out of that mode, it helps. You know, and sometimes even if you're not that type of person, you know, but if you could only tell yourself, you know what, this is not the time for me to get all vexed or upset with my spouse because they're going through that time. This is the time that my spouse needs support. So I need to come and see how I could be a better support to my spouse and to help lift them out of that situation.
We can't be both down at the same time.
No.
We can't. One
had to be up.
Yes.
And in fact, the Bible speaks about that because it says, "Can two walk together except they agree?" And how can one be warm alone?
Yes.
You know, and if one fall down when you need the other one to help pull them up.
Yes.
So
you know, and then that's the point, because sometimes men do go through that too. As I was reading in the book this afternoon, sometimes men, we express ourselves so different. And as my friend was saying in Mesha's book, that's then Roy, he was saying, I think he was saying like, or his wife, whichever, he was saying, you may think that a man is not grieving, or you may expect a man to be able to be a man. And that deception could be a problem because everybody experiences things different. So don't feel it's you alone because, you know, the thing happened to you. I always say to my wife, when you hurt, I hurt. Trust me, when she hurt, I hurt so much. I feel the pain literally in my heart. And I hate when she's hurting because I hurt too. You understand? And even though I may try to get her out, I'm still hurting. And I feel more joy when she's, happy again. You understand? So one of the things that you want to avoid, do the best you can to avoid. Because some people cause depression in people's life. Yeah. I don't have to read and spell for you to understand where I'm coming from. Some people cause their spouse to be depressed. Not only when death happens, depression comes about. You understand? Sometimes you disappoint your spouse by something you probably say, the way you say it. You touch a button, there's a spot that I didn't know about, something from your childhood, that this is what used to happen then, and you don't even understand the person, and then you go and you say that, and it's like, how can you say that?
You invoke something.
You understand? So you have to be sensitive. This mouth of ours is going to get us in some serious trouble.
True.
So let's our words be what? Seasoned with
salt.
Yeah. So that we use our heads. Yeah.
We have to be sensitive to each other's needs, being sensitive, because what may seem as something simple to deal with, in your mind is something quite complicated. Yes, because we sometimes, based on what how we grew up, and to us, okay, well, that is something simple to deal with. I don't understand why you're feeling so depressed about, but we ought to not take things for granted and look at things on the surface, even if to you it is something simple. That is why it's important to read. It's important to read. It's important to find out more information. Educate yourself, because
in all situation, it must take time, important. And it's good when you and your spouse can do it together. Especially, it helps you to grow, because now you are in the same wavelength. Even if you're reading something and one person is see that way, just having a nice simple conversation without any trait, without any being all defensive and so much the conversation, because you want to be able to have a common space where you can live together and function and think, so one might not believe something, but the other person could help that person to see it differently, and come on, and you have that moment, and then you're both on the same page. Right now, my friend here, which is Aubrey saying depression that is up
my street.
Up my street, right. I suffered for years. On top of that, he lost my friend, his son, right? And his son, very loving guy. He was on our program. I had a program with him before, and I think that's how Aubrey was introduced to the radio station here. Okay. So God works in mysterious ways, Aubrey. God still have us here to talk to you, and we love your son. And he was a wonderful soul, you understand? And God used him. And that's something we can take joy in. The life that God allowed you to bring on the earth and shape, he was able to bless people.
That's right.
And he's in heaven with his Father right now.
Oh, yes.
So you could take comfort in that. But the reality is sometimes we do, memory. Memory.
And that's why, listen.
Yeah.
Listen, counseling, professional counseling, and I use the word professional because sometimes as individuals we think we know.
Yeah.
And the words that we speak might hurt more than it helps.
Yeah.
So somebody who is, I would say, a spirit-filled counselor, or somebody who is a professional counselor who is trained and can counsel people in these situations.
Very, very important.
That can help. And not just the person who's going through the depression. Sometimes the spouse has to be there too to understand.
Both persons,
because sometimes the person is being counseled and the spouse needs to be there to understand exactly what that person is going through and what they need. So professional counseling can really be, an important part of being able to deal with depression.
Yeah.
Listen, we forget we have a book to give out tonight.
Yeah,
we need to take a little break and come back and tell people about this book. We had this book to give away.
It's time to give away that book.
Yes. We have a book. We have a book. We have a book. Oh, yes. Married for Life Series, Volume 1. Marriage. It's nothing like what you have been told. All right, by our guest here, Mesha Paul. All right, so
Mesha,
what we say, we laying down the ground rules for how we giving away this book tonight.
So before we take a break, Mesha is going to tell us how we're going to give her the book. Or you want me to help you there?
I think you
remember.
can do that because you know
Yeah.
what to do.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So here's what we want you to do, right? We want you, if you're tuned in right now, the first thing we want you to do is to share the stream. All
Share the
right?
stream.
Share
Share
the
the stream.
If you did not subscribe as yet, we want you to subscribe to Hoop FM. We want you to subscribe to Mesha's
Empire Books.
Mesha
Empire Books.
All right.
All right, and that's on Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Facebook, you must subscribe to Empire Books on Facebook, and you must subscribe to Hope FM
FM.
Grenada.
All right. So you can
All
go.
right.
You can go onto the YouTube channel and subscribe there. I'm gonna put the link to Mesha book here in the comment. So I think you should be able to click on it if you're seeing it on Facebook or YouTube. All right, and
Make sure
it
you
will bring you
like.
to that place. Also, you can check out the same book.
Like
you
and
can
share,
buy
like
it on
and share.
Amazon. It's available on Amazon. So if you guys are interested in purchasing that book for the sake of a read, yeah, Tony, I said the
Very
book is,
interesting stuff.
if you
Good
if you
stuff
don't
in
want
that book.
the hard copy, you can get a soft copy. I'm sharing all the links there now, so you can just click on these things and it'll bring you
Alright.
to the place. All right, yeah, you have the hardcover and the paperback, but Mesha doesn't have the Kindle version as yet.
Yeah, the Kindle version is out.
But
Oh,
why?
it's out. That's the
Am-
one you were seeing with
Why
Oh, yes.
Amazon?
Okay.
So why
They're all
Amazon?
out.
Why Amazon? Oh, okay. Kindle did.
Yes.
It's $7.99 to buy.
Yes, it's there. It's
So why
there.
Amazon trying to be tricky in here?
we
Putting
could have
zero
buy the
zero
Kindle.
on top,
We could have
and
buy.
then
We go buy.
yeah. No, what I tried to show you. Amazon is saying it's free.
But then in the bottom it says $7.99 to
So
buy.
guys, if you go there and you think
Yes.
it's free, you understand?
All
So
right.
Candice
Somebody
said
said they
to
didn't see
send
the
her
link.
Yeah, Candice, I don't think you would be able to get it like that, but she's in Trinidad.
Trinidad.
Yeah, and I think I know why. Cause
She says she's not seen the
yeah,
links.
yeah. The system here, based on how it shares, it don't share to the page you're on. So here's what you can do. You can jump over to Hope FM Grenada. All right, Hope FM Grenada
On
Facebook, and you could continue watching there, subscribe there too, or follow Hope FM Grenada, and you'll be able to get a link when you jump over there. But you are in the Grenada Christian community group, so that's why you're not you won't be able to see. All right, so that's it for that. So we'll take a quick break here, and
You finished? Tell them how they could win the
oh
book.
well, wait now. Actually, I forgot. So after you follow, you subscribe, you share. The next thing you need to do, you have to call. So I'll put up the number.
We'll tell you when to call it. Don't call us now.
Don't call yet. Because I know I have a friend that say, what? That book is a must read. I'm a friend I'm planning now to win that book tonight. So I could imagine she'll be the one calling first. I'm not going to call name, I'm not calling no name. But let's take a quick break right here.
We'll be right back,
with you
guys. Don't go anywhere.
Becoming one. For of this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite a passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One. Becoming one. For of this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one. Becoming one. For of this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite a passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.
We are back. We are back, and we are ready to, make somebody smile. So, here's what we're gonna do, right? The first person to call our WhatsApp number tonight, and we would prefer, if you know you're planning to get married and you need the information that is going to help you, that someone like you call. If you know somebody who's going to get married, or someone who is married,
anybody,
and you want to give them a nice gift.
Planning to get married 10 years from now, they're still planning to get married.
Candice say she ready to become one with a book.
All right, guys. So the number is 403-1031. You can call us on WhatsApp. The first person that calls gets this book.
Easy breezy, simple, 1, 2, 3.
Simple. First person to call us, you can get that book.
Simple like that.
All right.
So we're waiting for a caller. All right, waiting for a caller. Really
yes.
They should even tell us why they think they need the book.
Yes. So
book can impact them.
listen. And so Mesha adds, you have to tell us why you need that book and how that book will impact you. So when you call,
the area code.
Yes.
1473. Oh, I think
yes.
Well, I have 473.
Yes. All right, guys. So
for those listening in Radio Land, you have to call the WhatsApp number 1473-403-1031. 1031. All right. Hope 103.1 FM 1031.
All right.
I'm saying call 1031.
Yeah.
Oh my, who's this though? Good evening, you're live.
Hello.
Good evening. You're live on Hope FM.
Hi, good evening. Hi. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Okay.
You have to load on your listening device, your radio, your tablet, whichever one you're listening on. Turn on the volume a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Good night.
All right.
I feel another voice, eh?
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel another voice. You know that voice.
So tell us why you think you need this book, or how it's going to impact you.
Well, I intend to get married. You know, I ain't even dating yet, but I intend to get married, so it's better to be prepared. You understand? In advance. That's why listening.
Yes.
So that was going on.
Yes.
I'm being prepared.
All right.
Yes.
Blessings, sister.
Misha, are you happy with the
answer?
But like we say, I mean, the preparation is important. And it's
of
one
course,
of the reasons why we have the book out.
Taking in front.
Right.
Yes, so, and like I said earlier on, it's bad business if you would spend a fortune on your marriage, your wedding, and not spend anything preparing for it.
All right.
Time and so on. So,
you see?
I'm
using wisdom here.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
So the author, she is satisfied with your answer. So you have won yourself a book. All
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Just like that.
Thank
Well, I know who you are, so you will get your book. You will get your book.
Yes. You can just bring it on Sunday. Thank you very much for your
All right.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
All right.
All right.
I also feel like I just want to give someone, a minute to just share. So far, based on what we have been talking about, just a minute to share. Just 1 minute, nothing more than a minute before you continue. My friend said her phone freeze.
Poor thing.
I think she really wanted to
We're
call.
so sorry. You can still purchase on Amazon. You can get the, you can still support. No worries. We want to get into, this section here of our hardships. That is, the spicy part that everybody like to talk about.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so here's what, right? We'll give the friend. She says she's gonna call now, so let us
You calling her?
Let's give her opportunity, because she has a lot to say.
All
and
right.
It's good to hear from our listeners and viewers too. So let's see if everything works out fine. I'm actually doing her a favor.
All right. So Candice, you're getting a call now. Please answer your phone.
Yeah, Candice, so let us change your minds. I think Candice's phone is probably still frozen.
Okay, maybe it's giving trouble.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
All right. Well,
So let's continue in the meantime.
Yes.
All right. So we're talking about hardships in marriage. For those of you that might just be joining us, we're talking about hardships, and we want to continue. So far we spoke about all different types of issues, loss and grief, health issues, all different things, finances. Now we want to talk about sexual intimacy issues, because this too, as my husband said at the beginning, this is also a big part of hardships. When you see things ain't going well with sex in a marriage, that has caused plenty hardships.
Plenty pressure,
right?
bus pipe.
Yeah. Yes. So let's start off maybe by talking about lack of attention, and
So
when one wants sex and the other one.
Candice
calling. Okay, let's hear what Candice has to say.
So let's start off.
Candice, you have to turn on your volume.
Candice, I hear my voice in the background. You have to turn on your radio. Turn on whatever you're listening to.
Yes, we can hear you. Bless good night
Finally. First of all, congratulations. I did not know this was existing, and I'm really the information we definitely need, because in church we hear marriage announcements, but we don't really hear much about preparation for this, and I think it's very important. Preparation is key. So I definitely believe that if we know about the hardships, we could better prepare ourselves for success.
Very true.
And I have a long story, but we won't go through there tonight. I was actually engaged, and a person died last year from a sudden heart attack. He was only 33 years old, and I was in marriage counseling and all of these different things, and I realized that some of these conversations are not held even while you are a young adult, long before you even contemplating marriage. And I've seen the power of counsel. The Bible says, in a multitude of counsels, there is safety. And if we could have more conversations like these, especially in church, I think young people would make less mistakes where marriage is concerned, because a lot of persons getting married for the wrong reasons. And I always tell people marriage is ministry, and that's why you all are making me smile, seeing that you all are married and doing this as a ministry, being called by God to share your experiences so somebody else could benefit as well. So I appreciate it, and congratulations to the person who won the book. It's all right. It's okay. But yeah, I really appreciate this conversation, and let me know when you all have any singles people edition, those who on the way to becoming one, because I would love to be a part of the conversation. And I think marriage is a beautiful thing. It was created before sin, and it will last because God wants it. So yeah, that's all I have to share for now. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Candice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I love this one. Marriage was created before sin. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So why do you still need to get married? Oh my God.
Yes. So let's get back to the conversation. So we're talking about sexual intimacy, and I said let's start off by talking about that issue where I want sex and you don't feel for it. Them things cause some it could cause some big every time I want
How do we I encourage you guys in the studio with me to be very real about the situation.
All right.
Please be real about the situation.
No problem.
Because the situation is a very, very serious one.
Oh, yeah.
You understand? So the thing is, first of all, a lot of people have misconception when they go into marriage. They obviously okay, we go to any Christians, the Bible says no sex before marriage. So right there's great anticipation. So you're going there with things in your mind. Of course, you need to talk about it in the right place and the right time.
That's right.
Note my words. The right place and the right time. Don't go and stir up after that sexual conversation. You might just end up falling into fornication. I'm an artist too, so sometimes I start rhyming a little bit to get me. So the point I'm making is you need to know when and where you're going to start talking about that. These are for the singles now.
Right.
But we're talking about in marriage now. So let's fast forward. If you didn't do it right in the beginning, now you see what happened. You get into the marriage and you may be coming from a place with some kind of things in your mind that not even right. And the poor virgin girl child that you're going to get involved with, thinking the thing's supposed to be so nice and they want to rough up. Problems already.
True.
So it's again conversation, preparation in the right place. When you're being prepared, there's a safe space you can talk about it in an orderly manner that you would avoid that. And this doesn't always go for everybody because people get married at different ages and so forth. So we don't want to generalize the thing and say everybody's going to be 19, 20, being single for all this time. There are people who probably been together for years and they just getting married. They already have children. You understand? And they just getting married. So this is a whole different conversation. It's never a one size fit all. So you got to take what is for you. All right? But I think some of the main issue does be when one person, again, they may have an appetite that is all the way up here, and another person's appetite is... So that person could wait. You know, they say man have the cycle too. And woman has cycle too. A woman's cycle work with her cycle. And a man's cycle work totally different. So, understanding that is very important. Because you might say, well, only your cycle matters. You understand? And then you have a problem. So how do you balance? You must have understanding. You still have to think us. And you can't think I again when you're in that type of situation. Be it now, once you're married, doesn't matter. You're married, so there's always going to be that moment. But what is happening in that moment? Is it one person trying to get satisfaction? Because an unsatisfied individual in a marriage where sexual intercourse is being taken place, and if that person is unsatisfied for over a period of time and too long, you end up having problem. No, this thing does cause us men, especially us, to feel that our wives, she don't love me. Men doesn't interpret this thing totally different. And if a man don't, get it right, he don't tighten them screws in his head the correct way, he go on there thinking a whole different thing, and the devil is watching in the background with the eye cross and saying,
opportunity.
Hey, you realize she don't love you. Watch. I want to get too personal, but I've experienced certain things when in a young marriage age, again, for lack of knowledge, boy, you get so vexed, you living and go outside in the veranda, mosquito biting your foot. Or you're playing, man, and you sit down out there, and I go back and say what you feel like is. But why do yourself that for? Don't do yourself that, brother. I don't want it. I don't want it at all. You understand? Yeah, you're playing hard nut. But the thing does really get to us men. Again, it depends on where you're coming from. What are the initial... What was the initial thoughts that's been planted in your head regarding sex? So people need sexual education. Not just the thing they teach us in school about what a man and a woman private part is. No, not that type. In marriage, this is a conversation that must take place. Understand your likes, your dislikes. You understand? What pleases me? No, I don't like that. I don't like to be handled a particular way. You understand? So now when you find out
I prefer when you do that than if you do this.
Then it just, and sometimes you have to compromise. You have to be tolerable of the other person. Sometimes you just want to do things your own way. Only your own way. You alone no matter. Some men too selfish, and so some women are too selfish too.
Yes.
You understand? So you must have balance. You have to be, not every day is going to be about the woman. Sometimes the sun is going to shine. But sometimes the rain is going to fall.
Like somebody tried to talk in parables. Oh God!
All them at you, Thank you, Holy Spirit. All them at you,
Oh, let's give Mesha a chance.
Mesha, go ahead.
Talk to us, Mesha. Talk to us. So, let's talk about this.
Yeah, so like you rightly said, sometimes one may be in the mood for, the other may not be.
Right.
But again, this is where compromise comes in.
That's right.
Right. Knowing when to. Sometimes you do it as a matter of, it is, I don't want to say duty, but duty. But duty. We don't want to say, you see, I
understand where you're coming from.
I don't want to say duty, but duty.
I
so
understand
that
where
you
you're
know
coming
where,
from. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so even in that time, it's not every time you will feel for it
Yes.
as a woman or
Yes.
as a man. Well, I would say man, woman mainly. You know? But then you do this.
No. Let's rewind it. Let's rewind it now.
Well, she's speaking the truth.
It's the truth. I think. I mean, women on the live help me there.
Yeah, she's
help me
speaking the
here.
truth. Come
I
on.
think men appetite is, even if we have an appetite that is up there, I think men appetite is just more than us.
Much more.
You know,
much more.
You can't blame us.
They could be the sickest sick. They're sick. They can't talk. They have fever, 100 and something degrees.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's true. Sister Lynelle, you're in line.
Oh gosh.
No.
I'm only speaking the truth,
But,
You never to think yet. Oh yeah.
never too
Fellas,
sick.
we're already more.
Never too tired. They could have
Already
lift how much bucket of cement for the day.
The one therapy. One therapy. It cures everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Tiredness
But,
gone, sickness gone, everything.
you know, but the reality is the whole sexual intimacy is something that creates hardship in marriage from time to time. Even when you just get into a marriage, a young couple, you know, sometimes just trying to figure things out. Like you mentioned earlier, the way you would want to, you know, be touched or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You know, your spouse, whether male or female, you have to learn your partner. You have to learn what works and perhaps try to stick to what work instead of trying to do things that seemingly may not work. Because at the end of the day, the goal is to ensure that you both enjoy this moment.
That's right.
It's not just about me or about you, but it's about us.
And if each of us focus on satisfying the other person,
Oh,
then
yes,
we'll
it
both be
becomes,
satisfied.
Of course, definitely.
Yes.
Yes. You're
Yes,
right.
yes,
You're
yes.
right.
So I mean, somebody might hear you say that and say, well, how can that happen? How we both try? What if I get satisfaction faster than you? So you have to learn now to restrain yourself. Because if you understand the other person and you know you will peak faster than the other person, then you need to calm down yourself, do more of the work, and give the person time, and or maybe let them get there first, and you could, you know, you have to learn to put your slow down. Can you say you have to learn to slow down?
Yes.
Right? Slow down. Take it easy, man. Some of us are moving too fast. You understand? Rome wasn't built in a day, and again, a lot of people, because they had allowed themselves to learn this thing the wrong way. Yeah. I did a session about a year and something ago, how I got delivered from pornography. And sometimes people in their relationship, you've gone into a marriage with, you've been hooked on this thing, and this thing is a spirit. It messes with your mind because now you want to practice things that you saw. So you still didn't even understand yourself yet and how you should function. You understand? Instead, you go with misconceptions as to how the thing's supposed to be based on what you see on the screen, wherever you looked at it. So again, if you're being hooked on that right now and you're a husband or husband-to-be, I would say purge yourself quick. Purge yourself quick. Ask God to help you. Run away from that and learn the correct thing. You have to learn the correct thing. You have to get the right knowledge. If you don't get it, you will perish. Because you're going there thinking, I'm doing right. My wife here, she was making noise, so she loved that. But you don't know nothing yet. She was saying, oh God, stop. You didn't realize that was going on there. You know, you're doing the right thing.
And
you
all
know, so
that,
it's a lot of things. And I think, again, what is bad is sometimes when people don't speak. You know, you're not satisfying, you're quiet. You're not saying. You need to come clean with your significant other and say,
I didn't enjoy that.
I don't think, no, you have to be wise, You can't just say,
okay.
You can't just
You're
come
right.
to kind of rough and thing, because you have to understand psychologically you'll be messing with the person's mind. So you have to be you have to be wise the way how you communicate.
Except you again too,
If
it
you
comes
have
down
that-
to how you communicate.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you may just have an open communication where even if you say you didn't enjoy, they understand. They
understand.
don't take it to mean anything.
But that's when you get in that
differently.
place.
Yeah.
That's when you
But,
get in that place where you have that
so it comes
understanding.
down to the it
You
comes down to
understand?
how you communicate. Mind you,
Yeah.
again, we talk about maturity, but there are some couples that they communicate. Their level of communication is way advanced,
Yeah.
even though they're young in marriage,
Yeah.
because of the kind of friendship they build and the way
Right.
they relate one to the other.
Yeah.
So it really comes down to how you communicate as a
Mm-hmm.
couple. But you have to know how to bring this across, because mind you, even as a woman, even just come in and tell your husband, I didn't enjoy that. Like just unrightly
Yeah,
said,
boy.
affects the
Yeah,
man
man.
Yeah.
psychologically. because
Man
you're
especially,
thinking
not the woman,
emotional.
man.
Yeah. It does.
Us
It does
man is
affect.
like,
So it's important, ladies. If you're out there and you don't know how y'all don't communicate on that level as yet, you have to be mindful how you bring that across to your
Be
husband.
very wise.
Yes.
And that's why you should be comfortable enough during premarital preparation to have this conversation, so that it don't come as a thing. Wow, we never talked about that. We just thought you were supposed to work well when we get there. So you see, again, preparation will make you, because you had conversation, because you have an understanding prior to that. Both of us are virgin, we don't know what we're doing. Then we will have to learn. And don't think that learning we're talking about is going to happen in 1 month. Some people as can, they say, slow down now, take your time,
You have the whole life together, a
progress.
lifetime together.
Keep building, keep building. Talk about it, make your mistake, fix them, and sometimes your wife don't like the bedroom all the time. She may want to do something spontaneous. She want to go some other place. A lot of little conversations need to happen. I mean, we're talking solution at the same time, but really and truly, the problem is when you don't have the solution where sex is concerned, you end up in them problems. You see, you have to approach it differently. You have to approach it with solution. How are we going to deal with this? If you understand what I'm saying? Because if you're going and you don't have no idea, and you're waiting for a miracle to happen, some days it might happen. But I think you want to be a little more precise.
Yeah, and a little bit more intentional.
Yeah, now you're talking, So you don't just waiting for it to just, it's magic, today it works. So tomorrow you think you'll be the same thing. Women are different, men are different.
So
what work today, they work tomorrow. I thought you like that. Well, I changed.
True.
So what about trust issues? And when we talk about infidelity and adultery coming into your marriage, how? Because this too is a big problem. Right? Well, infidelity and adultery would bring lack of trust.
Yeah.
How do we deal with this?
I would like the ladies to speak about that because, right? I have a reason why I said I want you guys. I'll top in later, but I want the ladies to talk about it so men could understand. So go ahead. I step back.
So I try to see men.
No. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mesha.
Well, I mean, it goes both ways.
Oh, yes.
While we may see a greater margin of men being in perhaps unfaithful in their marriages, we do have situations where we have women are being unfaithful to their partners as well, right? But trust is a very broad topic, and a lack of trust could lead to many things. While we say infidelity and so could lead to a lack of trust, a lack of trust can also lead to infidelity, because when you do not trust your partner, there are a lot of things that spur up, in the moment, and that could push this person away, especially women. Sometimes when we fail to trust our husbands, then they interpret it as a lack of respect. We don't trust them, but we trust maybe our pastor, or we trust our bosses, right? But we don't have that same sort of confidence and trust in our spouse, right? And so it poses problems, and it could push your husband away in a different direction, right? So the lack of trust is very broad. It's something that I covered in the book as well, but it could so many things could cause a lack of trust, and it can also cause so many things.
All right, I see it. So both of them can
so
cause
it's,
each. Yes,
yeah, hand in hand,
right?
So let's just say, even for a woman, maybe you have a husband that's sort of secretive. He's doing things, and you can't get answers from him. You can't get information. He's up to something, and and it creates that lack of trust. And so you might pull in your shell. You're in your corner because you feel that you can't trust your husband. And so you in your corner, and it caused him to perhaps go out there. You go in and drink with the boys, and then eventually what happened, in time to come, maybe he comes back being an alcoholic, and he become abusive. So you see how these things can just link and hinge one on the other.
Oh, yes.
And so it's important that we nip these things in the bud, very early in our relationship.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I understand. So both of them can affect each other. So you don't trust, so it leads to infidelity, or you had some experience of infidelity, so you don't trust because of that. So they both can affect each other.
Also, that lack of trust could be innate. So it could be something way in your past.
Yes, childhood, I could see
right?
that.
And
yes.
due to that, you don't trust people easily. You want to get married. You want to feel loved. So you get married to somebody, and here you are still dealing with this lack of trust. And so you see it comes up in different areas in the marriage, So it's very deep, it's very broad, and
I could even see maybe you had because there are some people who, for whatever reason, they let's say that you had a spouse from before. There are some people who remarry for whatever reasons. All right, let's say you left that marriage because of infidelity, and now you abuse. Are now you're now remarried. All right, I could see the trust issue come into play there as well, because of what you experienced in the past. You may not be able to trust so easily, this new wife or this new husband that you have, and that can pose problems in your marriage, because you have been through something in the past, even if it may not have been essentially infidelity in the past. But let's say, for example, childhood issues. Maybe you were raped as a child. Maybe there was some kind of incest. Something happened, and as a result, you because I believe a lot of the times there are spirits involved. It's spiritual, and a lot of things could happen in terms of these spirits attach themselves to you, and it's like if you experienced it, but then you become it. If you understand what I mean. So it's like you experienced the incest, but then you started to do it, or you experience whatever it was, and as a result you become the one who is being who is committing adultery or whatever as a result of what you experienced. A lot of these things.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yes.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You see, the thing is, a man must always pay attention to this. A woman don't just withhold herself from her husband. I wanted only to talk about it more, like what goes on in all their head. See, we talk about hardship, and the hardship comes around sometimes when you see a woman don't feel or she don't get certain thing that she's expecting or she thinks she deserves. So when the man is not doing, you see, it's not even about sex for the woman. I don't know, they could tell me better. It's not even about that.
We like to be loved. We love to be, feel special.
Yes,
affection.
I always say,
definitely
sex
important.
does not begin in the bedroom
At all
so
for us.
Give us the affection before, call us
give us
upon
the
the phone in the day.
attention.
That's what we
Make
want.
us feel extra
Of course,
special.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to say,
Sometimes you don't even have to
let's
do
go.
much. You don't have to do much.
No.
That attention, that time, quality time.
Teach me.
Yeah.
Teach me.
You understand that once you treat us well,
But even while you were speaking earlier on, my mind went back also to sometimes we have persons who are very insecure.
Next part, yeah.
And that insecurity
Yes.
could also lead to a lack of trust.
Yes.
And just imagine you as a wife, you know it in yourself, you are faithful. But then you have a husband who is insecure, or vice versa, and that person driving you nuts because they're thinking, oh, you can't go, you can't step out 2 minutes down the road, you can't be on a phone call too long. They figure that you're into something more, you know, and these things could pose a lot of problems. It could create issues where you constantly nagging at each other. It could even lead to depression as well. You understand? You drive the person out to the point where, hey, I can't deal with this anymore. So you're going to separate ways.
So men must, I think on both ways, not just men, because
I
think you want to feel a particular way in order for you to function properly, and us men just the same. Some men, you know, they want hugs.
Not some men. I think all
You
men
see,
like
the
hugs.
thing
Some
is-
men, no, not all men. Some men go different, you know.
This leads us back to something that and I also addressed that. It's a topic that has been dealt with. He's a pastor and an author. His name is Gary Chapman, and he deals with what you call the 5 love languages.
Right.
So it boils down now to your love language.
Yes.
You know, so if your language is quality time, I
That's
have
mine.
things to say, right? mine too. You know? So I would say, here what I would say. I say, okay, if you love your husband, right? If your husband thing is giving up gifts and mine is quality time, let's come together and spend time. When you come to spend time with me, I bring something for you. You know, and so we both happy.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
but you know, so these are things that throughout your marriage you have to be mindful of, and I would say very, very mindful of that, because it's something that could create a lot of problems. Sometimes, for example, a wife, her thing may be acts of service, and if she's not getting the help around the home with her husband, she could figure he don't love her.
That's
And
right.
it could cause a lot of problems, not realizing that it's only because her thing is acts of service, or maybe the wife that just want that extra attention, and the husband figure, woman, leave me alone now, just need my time. You know, but you have to speak the language of your spouse, because that's the only how you'll be able to get the best from them in that marriage, even in intimacy time.
True.
The fellas are taking notes. Take notes.
Ladies take notes too.
Everybody take notes, because for a man, most men feel like that's when they believe they are loved the most, when their wife come and you know, you're enjoying that time together. It's like, oh, I'm on top of the world. You know, but praying also is a good way. Praying actually is when you and your wife get into deep prayer, it is better than sex. It is. Some people may say, well, what nonsense you're talking about? Trust me, you will only know when you get there.
Well, actually, in the book, there's something I dealt with which talks about the 4 dimension of sex, you know, and spiritual aspect is one of them.
Of course.
You know, so we don't want to forget that, hey, this was created by God, and it is a spiritual something.
That's right.
It's more spiritual than it is any other thing, you know. So when you come together, there's that spiritual connection that takes place.
Oh Lord. And you speak a book there, because
acts of worship,
that is
man.
why it is dangerous, because it is spiritual. That's why it's dangerous to go outside of your marriage, because you create soul ties. You create problems there, and when you have these other ties, you're wondering why all of these things happen. And even if that's why we need to break the ties. Even some people before they get married, and you hear my husband talk about all of these you know, whatever happened before we got married. People need to understand that when you're getting married, you need to prepare yourself in that manner. Break the soul ties, break them. It's going to cause problems in your marriage. Some old girlfriend coming back, some old boyfriend, some old, you know, this thing playing on their minds.
And
you need to
those,
break it.
the secret ones that you don't even know because they happen so long and you forgot. So you see why, again, in preparation, if you have someone who is, you know, they cognizant about what they are preparing you for, then they go deep. Preparation is not just a few questions someone asks you, you know. This is someone who is able to get down inside of your soul and get you thinking things that you forget. Listen, all you don't know about the devil, let me tell you, he's a master strategist.
Planning for
you
years
have something
and
there
years.
since you was a child, set
Long-term
up.
planner.
to get you when you're married. And the opportune time come, and then he pressed that button. And when he pressed that button, you didn't expect it, that it's like you're wondering, what runs through your body there. You understand? Now, what are we saying? That's why it is important to get prepared. Preparation will help a lot of, it'll prevent a lot of things. And not just getting the preparation, but knowing what you've been prepared for and knowing the information. Not just, you could hear it, because some people could go into preparation with a mindset that, that's just something I have to do. That's just the way you have to go so to get married. Some people go into counseling that way. Yeah. So not the counseling was bad, it's okay, I put a ring on the finger, next thing we had to get counseling, so I just start getting married. We gonna make it, man, we gonna be alright. Take the thing serious. Don't just go with a passive mindset. Go into it saying this is the matter of death and life. And when you do that, go on, Mesha.
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, the whole thing is we have to understand too that marriage is work.
Oh, yes.
Some people come into
somebody
marriage.
Was it today or yesterday?
Some people come into marriage and think, it's just a cool breeze.
It will work. Not realizing it is work.
It is definitely, no matter how much you know or how much you think you know or how much compatible you think you might be, when you get in there, you will meet some things that will tell you, hey, you better get down to work. It's time to get down to work. So...
And I like that because, are you willing to fight when you have to fight? Some people give up. I said it the other day, some people give up too easy. Are you willing to fight? Okay, I didn't know something, so it surfaced. Okay, well, that's new information. I didn't even know how I would respond to that information, how I would react. Okay, so what is my mindset then? Should I say, I didn't know that, and take a side of saying, no, I'm going to defend me and leave your spouse out. No, you have to learn to come together at that time, man, and box that devil down. Ultimately, you're fighting for what God has created. He said what He has put together. Let no one, no man, no woman, no dog, no cat, nothing.
Nobody.
Nothing.
Not even you.
You understand? So we what we're saying is that people, we are not perfect, and different situation in life, and based on where you come from, sometimes things will happen that you didn't plan for, but you have to fight for your marriage. And there's a nice way and a right way. It starts first with 2% putting the head together and being the one flesh that God talks about. And once two of all, they can put all the head together and ask God for the help, start with praying and asking God for guidance. He's going to lead you. He's going to direct you in the right path. I know we're going to get into solution, but maybe we have to.
Yes, we'll be talking solutions as well. You spoke there and something came back to mind. I don't know, this always plays on my head every time I think about marriage and fighting for your marriage. I always think about an action movie. All right, think about the action movie where you have two stars.
Yeah.
Right, the two stars, they're going through some place or whatever. They had this battle going on. And they are basically guarding each other. They are basically looking out for each other. So I might be here, you might be there, or we might be together. A bullet might be coming on your path. You ain't see it, but I shoot down that person. And then when the next bullet coming at me or somebody coming up at me, you could see that, and we have each other's back.
I imagine that movie.
It's a real action movie.
Yeah.
It's a real action movie. But that is what marriage is like.
Yeah.
We are fighting together, and we are basically, we have each other's back.
Because if the devil touch you, he touched me.
Yeah, that's right.
So anybody come against wifey, you have to stand strong and defend what's
That's
yours,
right.
and vice versa. You understand? A man once said, it's good to be fighting shoulder to shoulder.
That's right.
Someone said back to back, but one says shoulder to shoulder. I can't remember what the analogy was when he said shoulder to shoulder.
It definitely should not be face to face. Because if we face to face, we fighting at each other.
So I think that was
Fighting
it.
each other.
And you want to see each other's face, so shoulder to shoulder.
Yeah. I guess the enemy coming at the two of you together. So.
Yeah. Shoulder to
So
shoulder.
let it be a shoulder to shoulder. The back to back work, I could understand what they're saying.
They're looking for the enemy from all different angles.
Yeah, I could see that one
I can't
too.
remember what you were saying, but it was
yeah.
a good analogy with the shoulder to shoulder.
So if you just permit me, I got a message from one of my friends on WhatsApp.
Go ahead.
And she was asking to spell the empire for persons.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know it is M for Mesha,
Okay.
P for Paul, and Ire. So what I really did was, it was Mesha Paul Inspire.
I
So
love
that's where
it.
it got that
Alright.
Empire. So it's not EM, but it's MPIRE, Empire Books.
Okay.
All right. So there you have it. All right.
So
So-
I'm just like, I'm excited because I know there are some persons, they're in a much better position than we are, because now they're getting information, and you can imagine how successful their marriage will be. And not just that, preparation cause you to not to accept no kind of puff thing,
That's right.
True.
Listen, you just jump in a relationship just so
Not-
you have your standards and you have your value systems set up that partner man or partner woman, if you make the grade, goodbye. I rather say single and happy than to jump into a relationship that just because I want to be in a relationship. Listen.
I like the comment that the person, there was somebody who made the comment, and that's true. Yes, you have premarital preparation where you have the counseling and so before, but you also have postmarital
That's
counseling,
right,
which
that's right.
should not only be when you have problems. It's good to, you could get a counselor and
Yeah,
just
to
sit down
keep-
and talk
yeah,
about
as you
things.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't have
yeah.
to be because you have a
Post
problem.
is important.
It's
Post
healthy.
important.
It's
Yeah.
definitely healthy.
And that's why I think that's one of the things that the church in Grenada in particular, as far as I know, lacks. Now, after we marry people, and Candy said it, what's the maintenance program? You know what I mean? Okay. And I read in a book and it says, okay, after 1 month, you do a 9-month check, then you do a 1-year check, and then you do the checks. You keep doing the checks. And some of the checks can be a simple thing like this tonight. There's a check. But how much more it would be better if in the congregation that you are part of, they have somebody or a
Sessions.
team or somebody who's responsible for constant check.
Yeah.
You understand? Because the pastor can't do it all. But sometimes, here when the pastor comes in the picture, or the leader, when there's a problem, everybody come back and say, I need help.
Yeah, and it just goes to show that we have to change the way we do things.
Do it, that's right.
Because there should be structures in place where, persons can get help. Not just when they're going through problems, but there's support systems.
That's right.
And it brings us also to the aspect of confidentiality, because
That's
then
right.
you find that some persons don't
They
trust
Right.
because of the things perhaps they see happening around. So we also need persons who are trained. To deal with these things,
That's right.
So
So I'm glad we're along those lines, because we're kind of winding down. We're kind of going down to the 9:30 hour. But let's talk about the whole how can we really deal with these hardships? How can we remedy things? How can we really help to move from hardship to move from valley maybe to mountain? Let's talk about the things that can be done. How do we maybe communication, all the things that we can do, when we are faced with the hardships.
So if we can say, okay, I think we give some hints where
Yes,
the sex
along
is
the way.
concerned, all right? But if we can go back to like communication,
That's a big
and I
thing.
think that is one of the area that if people don't understand how to communicate, they keep digging themselves into a grave.
Yep. Yes, communication is, I would say it's number one. It's key to any marriage, right? Because remember, we're in this, but we're supposed to be friends.
That's right.
So we're supposed to communicate. Who friends do not communicate?
And once again, the common idea, I would say, when you're communicating, and that's something I've learned, and it works, and it keep working. Once it's not about, listen, me and my wife having a conversation. Let me make it more practical. I just said we're having a conversation, and I find she was being defensive. So I said, hold on. Pause, please. Remember, this is for us, right? So I know you may be strong on your point, but pause, please. And then I'm reminded of the old me now. The one that will, when she get defensive, so I will just get up and leave and go outside and sit down and say, I can't talk to you. So I have to take a deep breath and start again. So I'm being tolerable because you rubbed me in a way I didn't really like. But how did I respond?
Yeah.
Did I respond the way I felt? No. I had to take a deep breath and say, okay, let's go it over again. And once you go over it again, it happened again. I said, but you do it again. Okay, let's start over. This is about us. This is not about me. Remember, I'm having a hard time understanding something, and I need you to help me to get there. So now you need to keep in mind you're not attacking me. You don't have to defend because I'm not coming against you. I'm just stating how I feel.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make it practical so people could understand where I'm coming from. Once you could think us, communication will always work smoothly.
Yeah.
Because once you try to be too strong or you try to be too right, and it's like you're trying to make the other person feel like they are so wrong, that individual will say, well, it's all about you.
Offensive.
Yeah, it's all about you. And before long, what happens from there? You end up in a quarrel. Because now, you understand?
You lose the essence.
Exactly. So there's nothing to gain from that. There's no unity coming from what it is you're going through. So I think people need to try their best to understand that, because if it is not understood, and again, it takes tremendous compromise to get to that place, and being very, 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 very tolerable, because if not, because you have to learn it. You understand? Because let's get it straight. However you communicate now, you learn it some way.
Yeah.
From somebody.
Yes, true.
Some friend. Maybe your mother.
Maybe your father.
Maybe your father.
Maybe your auntie.
And you
maybe
tell
your
yourself
uncle.
that is the right way because that's what you saw. Now I want to tell you that there is a right way.
Yeah.
And you need to find it. How you say what you say. You can't come across, and my wife and I say that you can't come and you talk. You, Mesha, every time you only doing this. After a while, Mesha is saying, well, you point the finger at me all the time. You know, you can't come across with you. You have to change it. You know, there's way how you can pose your question, but you have to. It takes a little time, but eventually when you adjust, it becomes like okay, that's normal.
Yeah.
And if you step out of line, it's okay. Don't feel no how the other person can put you back in line nicely, and you take no offense.
Then we have the word that says SORRY.
Yes. Oh, yes. Such a lovely word.
Please forgive me. So I think the sweetest thing, and that could work in many other areas of your marriage too, is just remember marriage is about one flesh. And once you can keep the idea, it is not about me alone. Because every time you want to look right and be like looking at the all-wise person, it's like you're undermining the relationship. That women sometimes, though, sometimes all they could be strong-minded. And there are some men that could be really strong-minded, but I think women could be a bit more naturally, always staying quiet.
Well, actually, I was just waiting for a little moment to interject.
Go ahead. I'm joking holiday.
I was also going to say we have to find creative ways to communicate.
True.
As a couple, you can have your own way of communicating.
Right.
My mind goes back to, actually, there's something in the book again, but it was written by a good friend of mine, Luan, and she was sharing her experience, how she would communicate with her husband. Now he's deceased, but she mentioned that sometimes if she she's not getting the attention that she wants, she might say, when you go down the road, when you're coming up, buy a man in the shop for me. Or something, But she make it fun, instead of complaining and nagging, so there are ways you can do this to really get your message across.
Keep in mind you want to keep the peace at all times. You don't want to have no confusion in your house and things. You're responsible for that, Nobody can come and do that for you. That's your responsibility as a husband and a wife. You understand? So a lot of things ain't called for. But if you're getting it wrong over and over and over, it's time that you figure out there is a right way. But you have to put yourself out there, get the information necessary, and make the necessary adjustments that is needed. It is needed. So, for a successful marriage.
Oh, yes.
I mean, say that we will not disagree, but every time we disagree, we need to know how to agree.
That's right.
And not shut down on each other, but
that's
find a way
boy.
to come back and to discuss
Mesha,
the issues.
That's silent thing, boy.
Yeah, the silent treatment. And again, all these things are learned behaviors.
Again.
That some persons, that's how they've learned to deal with issues.
Yeah.
And so they just shut down and they never really confront the issues. But the issues will always remain if they're not dealt with. You know,
3,
so
4
that's why
days, man, shut
communication is important.
There's some
Body
serious
language
things
again
right
is
there, boy.
another thing. It's
Yeah.
just so much.
Because you see, communication not just the verbal side.
We have
Body
non-verbal
language,
cues.
all kind of
See.
things.
So much things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have miscommunication or misinterpretation with someone misunderstanding
And it's also-
what is being communicated non-verbally, and then they take it to themselves and say, well, that's what she's saying. And in your head, you're having your own conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, see clarity. You just say, did you mean this? I think that's what I understand. No, I did not mean that. I was saying this.
And you see, even in communicating, wherever there are issues, we have to also apply the aspect or the element of love.
Love.
Because you
right.
see, if love is in the mix, then you take this from the approach of trying to understand your partner.
That's right.
You know, even when they give these attitudes that we may not even like, that is a form of communication. It doesn't mean that you have to give out attitude as well. You could now come in a nice, loving way and, you know, tone the thing down, you know.
That's right. Peace. Always had to strive for peace.
Yeah.
You know?
So what else? What else can we do? We want to wrap this up here, but let's just share with our audience, you know, just a couple tips again.
Yeah, for the money.
In terms
for
of
the
how
money.
generally some tips,
For
you know,
the
you could
money.
speak specifically of things
For
that
the
people
money.
can do to really deal with hardships.
Yeah, for the money. For the money. Mesha,
Okay, well, I'm going through my list at this point because I don't really want to miss anything.
Right, go
But
ahead.
one of the things I would say is to put yourself in your partner's shoes. Right? So you have to remember that this person is hurting and you are also hurting. But this is the time you ought to support one another when you're going through that hardship. Right? Talk about your feelings with your partner. Right? Be open. Communicate. We just spoke about communication.
Right.
You know, and it will help to close some of those gaps that we see in the relationship during hardship. You know, when we're going through a hard time. Be clear about your expectations. Right? What would you like to happen? Right? Brainstorm ideas of what can be done to remedy the situation. Right? So you come together as a couple, you sit and you talk about those ideas, things that you think that you could do to fix this thing. Pray together.
Oh, very
Right?
important.
Pray about the problem, ask God for a solution. He's the problem solver. He's the only one that could give you answers to that problem. And I think, as you mentioned just on study, it's important also to read the word together, have times of devotion, see what God is saying, because, I mean, in fact, He would give you responses in His word. You know, so it's important to have that prayer and Bible study time together.
Just to interject a little bit, going back to the brainstorming, I like that idea. Especially in terms of having financial problems.
Right.
So you can sit together and brainstorm and say, what can we come up with? We need a plan. How do we, you know, if it's a business we're coming up with, I could sell some cake. You could say whatever it is that you can turn your hands with. I like that idea.
Yeah. Also, see a marriage counselor. And while that is recommended that you do that together as a couple, if it comes to the point where your partner is not interested, you may just need to do that for you.
Oh, yes.
Right? So that's important. Some situations require that you make peace with yourself. Right? And that comes back to what we spoke about earlier with the irreconcilable differences. Sometimes you just have to accept that things would not change. This is how it is. This is how it would be. Make peace with yourself and move on.
All right.
That's the best you can do, because you can't change the way the person thinks. Maybe, yes, you may want to continue praying about it and trusting God that over time things would change.
Yes.
But in this given situation, so that you don't frustrate yourself, be depressed and so on, you just have to make peace and accept it for what it is. Right? Strengthen your intimacy bond. Right? One of the ways to overcome hardship in your marriage is to take the focus of the marital problems and to build and strengthen your relationship. All right? So if you and your spouse have a deep love and a deep commitment towards each other, the issues that confront your marriage will not be strong enough to separate you. All right? So instead, you will come together to fight those external threats and come up with solutions rather than becoming bitter at each other.
True.
It is during those times of hardship that you would both need the support of each other the most.
Oh, yes.
And if I should close with this little quote, marriage is not supposed to be perfect, but marriage is supposed to work.
All right, I like that. Yes, let it work. And I would go even further. So work on it. Work on it. It's hard work, but work on it.
Yeah, it's hard work, but here's the lovely part about it. When you learn something together and now you're applying it. So you see, you can do the work, but then when you get the information, you don't want to apply it. It's a waste if you don't apply it. So you need to apply every bit of it. And you keep learning as you go. And remember, we said there are stages in the marriage. So what might be today may pass and never come back. And so you're going to a new phase. As you age, things change.
Right.
Yeah? There's one point when you have children in the house running up and down making noise, mommy, daddy. Tomorrow they're gone. What are you going to do? What's your plan? I want to go on cruise. You know what I want to do? I want to go on cruise every year. You understand? Listen, these are the things that must help.
You got to plan. You got to plan
for that.
Again, the finance comes into play. You got to think about these things.
You know, eat healthy once you're young, so that hopefully as you grow older, you know, you got a better health and thing. You know, your kitchen matter every day, you know. Simple thing. Some people disagree now. Or somebody only want fast food alone. When the husband say, well, I eat something more healthy. Or the wife say, I eat something more healthy. And man, you know, I like that. I don't like that. And all they quarreling. Think about it. When your husband healthy and he could function, it's a joy for you. Yeah. If every time the man's sick, then what happening to you? And vice versa. You understand? So everything you do every day, you have to be thoughtful about it. And that's why you need the Holy Spirit to guide you. A marriage that doesn't have the guidance of the Holy Spirit is a waste of time. You know what I mean? If two of you have the presence of the Holy Spirit, they have the Holy Spirit in you, listen, the Holy Spirit doesn't miss at all. It doesn't miss at all. It don't miss. So, you know, have a good relationship with God. Let God be the guiding light. When you meet hardship and you don't know how to deal with it, see what's going on. We go pray about it. And if you pray alone not working, put some fasting with it. And if it's still not working, call our two friends on the side and say, I need all it. You know, who said
agree
that?
With me.
Somebody
agree.
said that. Was it Mesha? She didn't tell the people what it is she was praying for. She just asked them to pray. Someone told us that recently. I can't remember. Oh, I know who told me that. Right. Now Mesha, a friend of mine told me that. She said she was experiencing certain things in the marriage and she had to get support by way of prayer. So she asked two persons just to pray about. She didn't tell them the situation. Just pray for me. I'm going through a thing. And when everything's solved, she go back and she say to them, thanks. And up to today, they don't know what they was praying for. So sometimes you may just say, listen, you generalize the thing because you want to be private. Hey, listen, me and you good. I experienced something here. Just help me pray in that situation. And when you find friends, again, that is understanding. When you have people in your circle that knows, it's a blessing. Yeah, keep them real close. It's a blessing because they will come alongside you and they understand that marriage supposed to work and they know it's work. And if you don't have the strength, they'll come and hold up your arms. You understand? They will hold up your arms so you could fight together. And we all gonna make the thing work out nicely. And I say fight together, we ain't boxing against each other. Eh? Don't get me wrong. We're fighting together. I mean, against the devil. Can't see enemy for that. So,
guys, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing. There's so much more that we could talk about, but we have expired our time. It's 9:31. And we really enjoyed having Mesha with us tonight. Thank you so much thank you so much for being with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Are you going to come back?
Of course I will. Once we're talking marriage, well.
Yeah. All right. So we say thank you to all the folks who were on and, you know, those of you who supported our program by sharing, liking, following, something of the nature. You know, it's just awesome to have you on, Aubrey and Sylvina, Sherry, Kelly, Candice from Trinidad and Tobago. Blessings to you.
I see Carrie Vic.
Yeah, Carrie. This is one of her favorite programs. I know. she knows Shatania. Who else?
You're going to miss out some people, just say everybody, because you have people listening that not, like, what's her name that just called, and she's, Meshach.
Just
everybody, don't call names.
Yeah. All right, I can't call all
everybody who listening, because you have people listening on the frequency.
Sister Dolly,
right.
Dollarias, Sister Dolly's.
Pronouncing people's name wrong too,
Sister Dollaries. Yeah, So
guys, before we go, we want to hear some final words from Mesha, and then we're going to close off for this evening.
Well,
what do you want to leave with the listeners today?
Well, one of the things I want to leave with you is that you need to get yourself a copy of the book.
Oh, yes.
Yes, so
there it is up on the screen.
If you're in Grenada, you can contact me on 538-1349. 538-1349. I'm on WhatsApp, or if you call me, you will get me. If you're not in Grenada and you want to purchase on Amazon, feel free to do so. We have the Kindle version that is out. We also have the paperback and the hardcover. Also, for those of you in Grenada, we're supposed to be having some books as we speak at Art and Soul in Grandans. So you should be able to get a book at Art and Soul. And sometime in the near future, we would have books at the Christian bookstore in St. George's.
Wonderful.
Again, for those of you who are interested in getting married, who are preparing for marriage, I wish you all the best. It's not something that you, as the pastor would often say, it's not something that you should go into unadvised. But this is the reason why, again, I wrote a book. Some of my experiences, perhaps if you read it, you may not have to go through, or you may learn a thing or two in terms of how to navigate when those rough waters come your way. To those of you in a marriage, I pray that God will help you to get through every difficulty, any situation. Just know that God is with you, and if you seek Him, He will direct your path.
Amen.
Good night.
So thank you so much again, and it's a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you to all our listeners. Blessings to you. Have a great weekend.
So goodbye.
Becoming one. For this reason, a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his own wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Becoming One, a program designed to strengthen marriages, challenge couples, and reignite our passion for loving, godly relationships. Join us as we discuss kingdom marriage principles on Becoming One, hosted by the Sabazans. Becoming One.
Finding a company that cares and understands your insurance needs is not always easy. With close to 2 decades of experience in the insurance industry, Easy Brokerage Services has served clients and companies providing coverage in life, health, motor, building, marine, professional indemnity insurance, and more. Our team simplifies the process and ensures that you are safe and adequately covered where it matters. We are located on the second floor of